What's happening, everyone? Welcome to the Season Gaming Bitcast, episode 268. I am your host, Ainsley Bowden, and we are back with the full Fantastic Four. It's been 3 weeks since the four of us have been back together, so I'm looking forward to this one. We have the whole crew here. We've got Mahomes, McKinnon, Juju, Kelsey.
Juju's gone. He's gone.
Juju's gone. Forget Juju. And whoever else is on the shirt.
Tony and Pacheco and Kelsey.
Yep, Kelsey. All right. And Swift, apparently.
Yeah, and Swift on the back.
How we doing, Mr. Rodriguez?
I'm good, man. Good. Ready to go. It's a nice day outside. The weather's been awesome.
It is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
Yeah,
fantastic.
And I'm in here inside talking to you guys.
Yeah, talking about video games. That's what we do. That's what we do.
Yeah. Perfect.
I'm actually missing, no joke, I'm missing a big car show this morning I was going to go to with my son. They were like, yeah, it's from 9 a.m. through lunchtime. I was like, well, can't go to that.
It's a very short window, man.
Yeah,
sacrifice.
Sacrifice for you guys. Mr. Hogue is back from a 5K, my friend. How'd it go?
It went okay. Yeah, we made it.
It went 5K.
It went 5K. Yep.
I was starting us early. Good to have you back. Glad it went well. Ready to talk some games, including Paleo Pines, I think. Maybe. What you gonna try?
We got a lot of stuff on the old Hogue's notes.
Oh no, Hogue's notes are back already. Yeah, 2 weeks worth. 2 weeks of Hogue's notes. And the Thai guy himself is here, fresh off of no sleep and a Lords of the Fallen review that he can't even talk about this week anyway. So how we doing, my friend?
I am doing great. McClunky, everyone. Glad to be here. And yeah, I just finished the Lords of the Fallen review last night. So good to have that done, wrapped. I'm off to the next thing, which who even knows what that's going to be at this point. There's a few things I might review.
Nice.
Return to Moria, the
Minecraft Lord of the Rings game.
Minecraft Lord of the Rings, or Deep Galactic or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like that one.
Deep Rock Galactic.
Deep Rock Galactic, yeah. I wish it was Deep Stone to go out. Much different game. All right, yeah, that's me though. That's good. Good times.
I like to imagine Travis finishes all his reviews at 3 a.m.
I do. That's actually
probably
not
pretty accurate.
Yeah. I'm like known for messaging like everyone in the Slack channel, IGN Slack channel, just being like, "Hey guys, for tomorrow morning, I'm gonna go to sleep for 3 hours, and then I wake up and I start working on the edits." So yeah.
I remember when we were doing Diablo with Ben, it was like 2:30 a.m. my time. I was like, dude, I'm crashing. Like I got to get to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
So happens. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon in the chat. Good to see everyone as always. We're kicking off with a couple member comments, some gifted memberships, and a Google Min super chat. Let's go ahead and get to it right out of the gate.
Man, always throwing me off. I don't know why. Happens every week. All right. Google me with the €5. I pledge for the creation of a Criterion Collection type deal for video games and would love to hear more about the Walters, Travis, pepper jerky.
Yeah,
pepper jerky is good.
Pepper jerky. Yeah, it's delicious.
Googleman is talking about the altars. That was probably a autocorrect, which I'm happy to talk about. It's on my list of things to talk about this week. So if you guys didn't see, I did a couple previews this week, but one of them was about a game called The Altars, which is a super interesting like survival game where you are a spacefaring person who gets marooned on a planet, and when the sun rises on that planet, you will be burned alive and die because it's a planet with a really close sun. And so in order to survive, because you're the only crew member of this downed ship, you have to use a unpredictable technology to make clones of yourself and then work with different versions of yourself to pilot the ship and basically like move it along the planet's surface long enough to be rescued. And as you clone yourself, you find out that each of your clones is actually a different version of yourself when you made a different life decision. And so they're all they have different careers. So you find one who stayed home with his family and became a miner like his dad, and rather than a space traveler. So that one helps you get mining technology. You find one who, excelled in college and didn't focus on meeting your wife, just basically focused on academics and became a scientist. And there are all these different versions of your future self, and they all have really annoying problems and personality traits that you have to negotiate. So it's got social links, but all the social links are with different versions of you, right? And so one of them is like lost his arm. The miner lost his arm, and he's addicted to opioids, and so you have to like deal with that all the time, and all this other stuff. It was a really cool premise, and it combines a hodgepodge of different game. It's like got survival components because you're trying to like collect resources and maintain your ship. It's got social link elements. It's got like kind of where you can dive into your life path and see all the different versions of yourself that exist and choose which ones to clone and stuff. So it's a very weird and interesting game. The demo was completely hands off, which tells me it's probably still a ways out. It probably will be like end of year next year would be my guess, or maybe even later if it gets delayed. But the premise was weird enough to where I definitely hit Hogue up and was like, yo, you should check out the game. This is a weird sci-fi with some cool story elements. So if you have at all an interest in science fiction, check out my preview. And we don't have any video footage we can show of that one. They were not allowing anybody to record any of the stuff, so can't really show you anything, but I can talk about it and tell you what I think about it in the early stage. So it's cool.
That sounds pretty crazy. As soon as you said clones of yourself, I was reminded of the old Michael Keaton movie Multiplicity, which is hilarious.
Great movie.
Movie. Yeah. If you've never seen that, look it up. It is comical.
I'm sure that was an inspiration because they have. It's a pretty funny.
Awesome. Googleman, thank you very much. Pepper jerky is delicious. We got a couple member comments as well. I'm going to get to Fishstring, my racing buddy from our Discord. I'll catch up later. Just had to say Forza is back. You damn right it is. We're going to be talking about a lot of Forza here shortly. So we'll get to that. Rain Man, YYC. Hey, all from Calgary, Alberta. Look up how many game dev studios are in Alberta sometime.
I actually know this.
Will do.
Canada is surprisingly the second largest. I think they have 12% of game devs are in Canada. I think the United States is over 40% now, but Canada is surprisingly large. I think Alberta is the first or second most populous city in Canada when it comes to game devs. It's like California and San Francisco Bay Area is like number one by a lot, and then other parts of the U.S. and then Canada. So
I was gonna say Austin's lots of there too. I'm sure.
Yeah, lots of game devs in Canada.
Cool.
Also, Travis's number one vacation destination.
No.
Yeah. Sure.
No.
Little known fact.
No. No, thank you. My relationship with Canada is fraught. I'm sure viewers will remember.
Also want to shout out Rain Man gifted 5 memberships over on Hogue Law's side of the house. Thank you very much for that, Rain Man. Love to see it. And of course, I've got to shout out Vintage Willow, who has gifted 10 memberships over on the SG side of the house, as she does almost every week. Always incredible. Thank you very much, Vintage. And then it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And I'm super appreciative just because, as I've said many times, we don't do ads. We don't do monetization. We don't do anything other than super chats and memberships at Season Gaming, including the site. So that really does help us out a lot. So thank you. And then, of course, against the tide with a new AI getting us ready for Forza this week with our racing selves. What we think? Mine looks way too realistic.
It is racing. I thought it was Star Wars when I saw this for the first time.
Yeah, Ains looks like he's in an X-Wing.
I'm going down, guys. I'm getting killed any moment.
Hogue looks like he just hit the NOS in a Fast and Furious movie with that background there.
It looks like he's in Speed Racer.
Yeah, Speed Racer. Dan looks hilarious with like no facial hair, which
yeah, it's weird.
Did the AI literally just make me Ains with glasses and a bigger nose?
I also like that you have glasses from like the 80s.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I mean, that's kind of accurate. So
just threw a helmet right on you.
Yeah, we're racing in space, I guess.
Dan
It's kind of a
looks
weird
like
mix.
it's his last race before retirement, and he's going to throw the race
does.
to provide for his family. He's like gritting his teeth and doing what he needs to do to keep his family fed.
Well, it was just one more.
One more.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh man, Tide, you're awesome. Thank you so much as always. Cracks me up every time. All right. All right. Why don't we get into the games we've currently been playing? We'll get to Forza and Assassin's Creed Mirage here shortly, but I'm sure we've got plenty of other games to talk about. I will kick us off briefly with, just because I know there's probably not a ton of interest, but NHL 24 is out. It is a tradition, one of the traditions for me to play the NHL game every year, although I haven't played every year, but I am playing this year. My good buddy in real life it's the first time we're playing together in 3 years because he had kids, and kids take over your life. So it's kind of a good time just getting together with buddies and playing it. The new NHL game created a team. I created Ted Lasso in the game, who's my player. It's good fun. So NHL is out. It's pretty good. A lot of changes this year compared to last year. So if you are one of those people that plays NHL or likes hockey, check it out. It's probably one of the biggest improvements in the past few years for sure. So that's pretty cool to see.
That's good to hear. It's always difficult to figure out when to jump on the long-standing sports franchises.
Yeah, it's like if you pick one up every 3 years, you may see some changes. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So we played 21. I played 22 super briefly. There wasn't much different. 23 I haven't played, but everything I read was that they basically just put 23 out with minor changes because they worked for 2 years on the changes for this year. And there's a new game director. There's a new creative director. So this is the first time that I've seen in quite a few number of years there's some actual significant changes to the functionality to try and make it more like a real hockey game, which is pretty cool. It's pretty cool. So
nice.
What else are we playing, boys? What you got?
I was playing Cyberpunk. I'm very close to getting to the DLC after starting my new playthrough.
Awesome.
So I'm excited about that. Obviously, I've been playing Lords of the Fallen. I'm like 45 hours. I've played 45 hours of that game, but I cannot talk about it at all. That will change on the 12th, 4 days from now. So not too long. And I will have lots to say about that on the next show. And then I did not
my most anticipated game the rest of the year. Don't let me down.
Yeah, and then I can't say anything. I can't comment.
I know. I know.
But I did not get to boot up Mirage. I really wanted to play it, Mirage. I haven't done it yet, but I did download it and I'm ready to go on that one. And then the other game I previewed this past week. Wait, did we talk about High on Knife? Was that last week?
You mentioned it last week, but you haven't talked about the actual review, I don't believe.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'll talk about that as well. Sorry, I'm on a few weeks delay on the show. It's weird. So I also previewed Frostpunk 2. Did any of you guys play the first Frostpunk? It was a really good game.
But I am aware of it. What'd you say, Dan?
Yeah.
So I played a little bit.
Nice. Yeah. The first Frostpunk is really, really good. The sequel, which I got to check out, and another one that they didn't let me record, it has the same publisher, so I think this is just their strategy right now. It's sort of like an expansion on Frostpunk. So for the viewers who didn't play Frostpunk, it's sort of like a city building simulator where you're the last city on Earth as Earth is overtaken by like the new ice age and it threatens to kill everything. And so you have to build a little city around like the last fire on Earth. It's like a industrial fire that they're burning. And a lot of the game is you trying not to freeze to death, basically. The sequel takes place after the worst of the apocalypse has happened, and you're now building from that little circular hub city out into the rest of the world and expanding. And it's more of a society simulator. So the headline for my preview was less frost and more punks, because it's really about like, it's not as much about surviving the frost apocalypse as it is about surviving the fact that humanity is now kind of coming back to life, and it threatens to destroy itself, as it often does in nihilistic sci-fis like this one. So yeah, it's a pretty interesting little game there, and it's got like lots of tough decisions where you have to decide if children should be forced to work in the mines or go to school, and there's consequences based on which one you choose, and different factions.
You sent them to the mine, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. I mean, I did. Yeah, I did.
Get to work.
Yeah, the playthrough was specifically, the scenario was, how are you going to get grow food, I think it was, and one faction suggests you use chemicals, and the other faction says, well, we relied on science of the past and it failed us, so why don't we just use human waste? And so I was like, all right, human waste, that's worked for like 10,000 years, let's use that. And then when you use human waste, then all of a sudden like people start getting sick, and then you have to decide, okay, well,
go figure.
Yeah, okay, well, do I want them to just like, what's my policy on like children dying because of the waste plant nearby and stuff like that? And different factions start to like you or hate you, and so it's one of those cool, like, society building, what is a good way to build a society type games, and then your decisions impact the way that humanity develops. So it's kind of interesting.
Nice.
Anyway, I did a preview on that, and then I guess the final one I'll talk about is High on Knife, which is a expansion for the comedy shooter
for Hope's Game of the
FPS
Year,
game.
2022, I believe.
2022, yeah.
I read all of Travis's review. Nothing convinced me that I will like the DLC any more than I like the original.
Yeah. Certainly, if you didn't like the original, you will not like the DLC. But even if you did like the original, which I did, I think people remember I gave it an 8. I quite liked that game. The DLC I gave a 6 out of 10, which at IGN is okay. It's fine, but it is a 2-hour expansion it was basically over and abruptly rolled credits in kind of a weird way. Right when I felt like I finally remembered all the controls and mechanics from the game, because there's kind of a lot of them, right? You have to remember the trick holes of each gun, and it's called a trick hole, Dan. Don't give me those eyebrows. I don't know what to tell you, man.
It's about that level of humor, Dan.
Yeah. And the character they choose to focus on is like a bloodthirsty knife who, that joke is kind of worn thin. So I don't know that I can staunchly recommend it. If you really are looking for more reasons to play, it certainly gives you that, but it's a very small amount of content, and I don't know, I'd kind of hope for more after 9 months, and I hope their next expansion, I hope they keep building in the game, obviously, but I hope the next expansion has a little more meat on the bones, maybe does some more creative stuff than this one does. It does have a very cool new gun, which is like a pinball gun that you basically turn the game into a game of pinball, and its trick hole ability is that it shoots out bumpers, and then you can shoot the pinball and it just bounces between the enemies and the bumpers and makes cool pinball noises as it blows up. So it's got some cool stuff in it, but for $10 and 2 hours of your time, I'm like, I don't know, you take it or leave it, really.
Yeah, expansion that's 2 hours long is kind of
It reminds me of those Borderlands campaigns that used to come out in the Borderlands 2 days that were over like real quick, like you do like 4 or 5 missions and you were like, oh, that's it. But,
it's like they always ramped up. Like they do 4 expansions, but the first 2 were like super short, They were building towards the later one. So thank you for that, Travis. Sard asked a good question in the chat. I'm going to plant in your guys' head and we can maybe discuss it a little later. She said, as we approach Game of the Year, I have a question for y'all. What is a game that could have been on your Game of the Year list if it had one change? And what change would that be? So put that in the back of your head, start to think through that, and we'll maybe touch that later. For now, I'm going to jump over to Forza a little earlier because we have a special guest today, which I didn't tell you guys about. And I am bringing him on so that basically what he told me in DMs prior to the show is that Travis's opinions on most things, Destiny included, but most things are pretty terrible, and he is here to counter all of those opinions. And is Mr. Abantis. Good morning, sir. How we doing?
Well, he's right about that for sure.
Mhm.
I mean, yeah.
Well, he's on mute, so he's off to a good start.
Yeah, I'm muted, No, I was going to say, sorry, Travis, you got to see me twice in 1 week. My apologies.
Oh.
Man, I thought I killed you.
No, thanks for having me.
Yeah, good morning, man. So, guys, Avantis and I have been having some laughs going back and forth on Forza in some Rivals events, and we were talking a lot of Forza. And I said, I'm talking a review. I know that the three of you hadn't really played Forza or aren't too interested. So, since I'm talking about the review, I figured I'd bring Avantis on for that.
I'm interested.
And, talk a little bit about it. So,
I'm interested a lot. I love Forza. I just don't have a review copy, so I've not played it.
Not played it yet. Okay. Yeah, I guess that's true too. The VIP or the premium edition's out right now, but the full game doesn't launch until Tuesday, which is very fair. So, yeah, I know. Early access, man. What are you talking about?
That seems to be the Game Pass model. So,
it seems more and more developers. I saw some of the guys, the analysts, who do the MPD and stuff, saying that by and large, the paid early access is working well and making extra money, so you can expect more and more publishers to do it.
Why wouldn't you take extra money from people who can't wait 4 days? It's stupid.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this question though.
I expect devs to love it, but yeah.
I was gonna say, would you rather do that though, get a little bundle up front and not have to deal with like battle passes or other things like that and just get your whole game once, or would you rather do the long term?
I refuse to answer that question because devs will do both, and they will. You know what I mean? Like they're already doing both.
World, you could hope.
Hell, Diablo 4 did early access, battle pass, and paid cosmetics.
My problem isn't as much.
And it has 500 Twitch viewers.
My problem isn't as much with the practice of charging people extra money to play early. I do think it's scummy, but that's not my big problem. My big problem is with the insistence that the game is not out yet when anybody off the street can buy it and play it. And developers and publishers are using that a lot, like a cudgel, to be like, oh yeah, you know what, you can't talk about the game and you can't publish a review until it's out officially 5 days after everyone has already bought it and started playing it. We've had to start saying at IGN, I do not accept this embargo. We'll just buy the game when it comes out in early access, and then we're going to talk about it whenever we want. And so that became a thing, for like Payday 3, we published our review. We rejected the embargo and we just bought it in early access, and I had my review up before the game was out. But it just seems a little scummy that anybody off the street can buy it and they're like, oh no, the game's not out yet. It doesn't come out until next Friday. And you're like, dude, it's out. You're selling it for money and letting people play it. It's out. So
agreed.
That's my issue with it, is the marketing bullshit.
Agreed. But anyway, so on to Forza. So this was, as I've said, one of my most anticipated reviews of the year, probably my most anticipated. I have a lot of time into the game already. I want to say 45-ish, maybe 50 hours or so. Put a lot in for the review, obviously. I ended up giving it an 8, which on SG scale means kind of superb. But it also means, that I had a few qualms with it. I think the interesting thing about Forza is, if you're not aware, this is kind of like a reboot. Like, they took the time to step back, rebuild all the systems for the game, many of them from the ground up, and relaunch, if you will, with this kind of new platform for the future. And what I say in my review is they did that very successfully in the sense of the racing aspects of it. The tracks are probably the best I've seen in a racing game in terms of recreation of the real thing. I would say I've compared them side by side, 1-to-1, literally switching back and forth between the games. I say they do a better job than Gran Turismo 7, and Gran Turismo 7 is a beautiful game from a track perspective. I think that the new physics modeling, the tire modeling, the way the cars handle, the different options for kind of like in cockpit, out of cockpit views, FOV, sliders, AI, the machine learning AI, from a CPU perspective is very strong, that you can adjust as well. It's got an intelligent penalty system. So if you're really into racing in multiplayer or online, it's got kind of intelligence behind the penalty system and rankings there. So, that kind of is important when you're racing in multiplayer. And I think just generally it's really well built. Where I started to get hung up is, if you like circuit racing and the car selection and the track selection, you're going to be in great shape and probably love this game. And I do. I love the game to death. But I have to call out that it's also a little light on some of the tracks you would expect. Now they are releasing those every month going forward. So we're back into the live service model of delivery, right? So I expect that that's going to just get better and better. But it also has nothing else from a player perspective. So it's very strange in the sense that when you go through the menus, there's no player profile page. There's no stat tracking. There's no statistics of the races you've done or best times on tracks or any comparison for your friends to look at outside of like leaderboards and rivals, which we'll talk about in a second. But there's no like meat beyond the racing itself, which I think they probably just ran out of time. And I realize that sounds crazy as long as the game's been in dev, but with everything they've built and how impressive it is, and if you start to think about all the different systems at play, it is what it is, right? But I think from like a track perspective, a car kind of not management. What's the word I'm looking for? The way the cars feel, the way the racing feels is incredible. The weather system is dynamic.
The simulation part of it,
yeah. The time of day system is dynamic, and when you combine the like track design with the car feel, with the time of day, with the weather system all together, it's phenomenal. It's incredibly well done. But you can't ignore that the game in other areas is feature light, right? You just can't. So I think this is another instance where there's an incredible game here. There's an incredible foundation here, but it definitely will be a better game in time, right? It'll have more tracks, more content, more player stuff, etc. And that's fine because I'll be playing it for a long time. Abantus, before we get to the joking about the rivals piece, what are your thoughts overall on the game? Because I know you've put a lot of time into it so far as well. I've seen your player level. I know you're up there. What are you liking or not liking about it?
I'm not going to be like a huge diversion of opinions either. I think we've talked some about this a little bit in Twitter DMs and things like that. But about 60 hours so far that I've been racing. I'm with you. Like I've recorded my intro to my review like way too many times, but I played, Need for Speed Underground 2, Rock and Roll Racing, Off-Road. I played racing games off and on forever. And then, you kind of make that transition where you're like, I want to do something a little bit more. Gran Turismo comes out on PlayStation, try the first one or two. Forza 3 basically is when I stopped playing Gran Turismo. That was the one. And then since then, I don't remember exactly what about that entry did it, but I know that's when I typically lean more PlayStation, but for racing, Forza's been it. Like that's the one that I'll almost buy an Xbox for that alone. And it was Forza, and we'll talk about rivals between you and I, but it was, I think, 5 because me and 2 of my really good friends just growing up, there was a point where we still connected on Forza 5 going through. It was the Mustang rival, like Ghost Rivals, just like we were doing. And then there was a Ferrari. And I can't remember what courses they were on, but the Mustang was on Laguna Seca. So, yeah, that's a fun course. But I was like, it's those little moments where we were kind of trading those. And I've actually I had a previous car that I took on a road course like 10 to 12 times. I forget the exact amount. So I've done this part in real life some too. Not professionally. I'm not like an expert or anything. But it still is, for me, there's nothing like that hobby. And then when you get to play this, and then you start turning off some of the assists and feathering in the brakes and getting in all those little pieces, it really brings back that feeling. Now I'm like this close to buying a steering wheel, a seat, and pedals. It's like sitting in my cart. Like, well, the thing was because I was telling Travis,
we started a fund. We started a fund on his show.
Literally on the Last Word podcast. I was joking about this at the end of the show. And then all of a sudden he does like a super chat. And then there were like 6 more that came in. So it was like, they're almost like pushing me to do it anyway. So I was very like humbled by that for a second. But the seat that I was telling you wasn't in stock. That I was like, oh, it's like I want the wheel, but the seat's not in stock. The seat came back in stock. So now I have no excuse. So I'm like, it may happen today. So I'm just trying to make sure I do the right thing.
You got your funds too.
Yeah.
We got you part of the way there, buddy.
Yeah, and then I've kind of looked on like, okay, this credit card, pay with PayPal, that's just to like make it as beneficial as possible. But the reason I'm thinking about that is because how the game feels. And I think you nailed it. The driving experience when you get behind these cars and just the modern tour, just the first set of cars that you go through, it's like a Volkswagen Golf. You're like, all right, this feels like kind of a front wheel little hatchback. And then you switch over and you get behind something else. And then you get to the M4. And then I'm now driving a Porsche that's actually got a little bit of understeer to it. I'm like, wait, yeah, that kind of makes sense. Getting weight off the front wheels, got to make sure you're on the brakes. Every car kind of starts to feel the way I expect. And then being a Corvette lover, I get behind a Corvette and I'm like, I'm loving my life right now. So it's every car is feeling kind of how I would expect. And then I turned on a thunderstorm in the rain on Maple Valley, and I'm driving in a supercharged rear-wheel drive Corvette. The butts, sliding all over the place, but I can feel like I can actually kind of control the slides if I play with it. I don't feel like I've been able to do that in games. And now maybe it's because I haven't been as up on the sim racing in a while, but the way it feels, and as you said, the tires, just the little tire squeaks that you're on the edge of traction, and then when you kind of have to recover, all the little pieces, and that's what you said it perfect, is when you are driving, this game is probably one of the best at what it's doing. Now, it's not going to be an iRacing for certain levels of like feedback and
not full
accuracy. Yeah, it's not full sim.
Yeah.
It's not going to be your $30,000 rig. But I mean, if you want to get a wheel and pedal, whatever level, and you want to get into a racing game that's going to give you a lot, this is going to give you an amazing driving experience. So I'm with you there. Yeah. I did end up giving it the same thing in my head before. Like you said, yours, it's an 8 to me too, because it is it is the beginning of an amazing platform. It's the best way I can phrase it. Because as you said, the tracks are a little light. I mean, you've got Yas Marina coming next month. They aren't saying what's coming in December. The Nürburgring Nordschleife, that's coming in spring of 24. So it's like, that's 6 months away. And that's like an iconic track. And there could be some in the middle. And they said there's not always going to be tracks, but there are some that you would kind of expect to be there. But as you said, they rebuilt it from the ground up. They rebuilt every track surface. All the tires now have 8 contact patches instead of like 1 or 2. So it's so much more accurate. And that's where the offering is a little light. But also it's like if you're looking for coming from a Forza Horizon and you're looking for drag or jumps or drifting, none of that's there. This is you in a car going around road courses, mastering that. That's what this game is. And if that's what you're looking for, it is going to deliver. Now, where I have fun and I've lost hours and hours, thanks to partially this guy up here on the screen, is Rivals. And I think that's the most hilarious thing to do, because you could have a rival 100th of a second apart or less. I've had them even closer. And I can tell you those two drivers take every turn a different way. And it is hilarious to watch, because I might be good at the first 2 turns, and then all of a sudden he catches up to me in the next 2. I'm horrible at this one, but I can gain him on the end. And you're like, how are we that close? And then there's the people who are 3 seconds ahead of us who do it all right. I'm going, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, the driving experience is amazing. The tours are going to be a little light. I do think the live service will multiplayer. The constant circuits that they're going to do. There's a race every 20 or 30 minutes, depending on which circuit you like, which I really like. Do some practice, get a feel for which tire you think you want to run, jump into the race. And then, as you said, the penalty system is really smart. It's going to take, I listened to Cog's interview, and it's like the 15 seconds before, 15 seconds after. It's going to calculate, did you just go barreling into a car just to try and make a turn? Or did you nudge somebody and kind of do a little rubbing his racing kind of line? And did that actually not make that much of a difference? And then there's no penalty. I think that's a really smart system to incentivize better multiplayer races, because that's what you hear about in other racing games, that it's going to be just a mess. Tires flying all over the place. I heard about before, just ramming people off the road so you can make a turn. They're going to penalize you pretty hard for that. You go off the track multiple times, it's like 6, 7. I had an 11-second penalty just to see how bad it would be. Like, you're going to have some major penalties. So if you want to go full sim, it's going to incentivize you to do that, which I really like.
And if you hit multiple people during a race, like repeatedly, it'll actually boot you from the race.
Oh, I haven't done that yet.
Yeah.
Oh, I could never play this game ever. No chance.
So,
well, you can remember, you can turn, this is like if you're playing sim, you can turn penalties off, you can turn all that off. But if you're playing in competitive multiplayer with real players, it does full rules, meaning you have to play by the rules.
Yep, no worries here then.
Is that a real rule in actual racing?
Absolutely. You can get penalized and taken out of the race.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll black.
How do they take a car out of the race?
They black flag you and
black flag you. That's what black flag means. Did it get black flagged? Does it be removed?
They shoot out your tires.
How do they get you out of the race if you don't want to?
Okay, if you want to have any career ever again, you pull off the track. Otherwise, you're going to be expelled. From
otherwise, you may never race again. Yeah.
Sounds like they're afraid of my power. That's what I feel like.
If you're just gonna
refuse to stop.
if you're gonna run around and do destruction derby, yeah, you're probably gonna end your career. But have fun one time, kind of thing.
This is why nobody should respect authority. Like, look at them. They think they can control you.
They do. Yeah, they do. Yeah. If you want a career, you know, that
sounds like Travis's take on laws.
But yeah, so
I'm pretty much with you on most of what you said. I think we're on board. It's like a good start, and I would say it's an 8 now, and then I could see a year from now it's like 9 easy. Later on.
Yeah, because I think the racing guy, like I put in technical prowess, which is one of those things we measure, like 9.5, because like everything it's doing is incredible. It just needs more meat. That's all. The funny thing is, so the nice thing, couple things to shout out is, someone in the chat reminded me. So Maddie and Cog on Defining Duke, apparently Maddie called out that my review is the definitive review. Nice. And that if everyone, anyone who, is interested in Forza should check out my review. So I want to shout out Maddie for that, because that's super appreciative. And, they're a big show. So that might explain why my review is doing so well in terms of numbers, which is great.
Awesome. It's a really good review, Ains. I mean, I know Ains doesn't love to tout his own stuff, but it's one of my favorite reviews.
I was already moving on.
It's one of my favorite reviews I've ever read, and it says so much stuff about racing games and the experience that I haven't even thought about for more than 2 seconds. So if you're interested at all, check out the review. It is fantastic. It's really long too.
It is long. Yes, thank you.
My review was longer, and then I took it down because I wanted to redo it. I hadn't even seen yours yet, though, but now I don't even think I need to, because we have the definitive one out there. So
it's 20 minutes, and I could have said more, obviously. But I think what I think one of the crazy things that occurred to me as I was reviewing this, and 2 things. One is that we've all heard who talk games, like in Game of the Year conversations, in discussions just about games in general, you hear it's just a racing game, right? And as I reviewed this and really kind of dove into all the details, just think about this for a second. And I promise I won't try to spend too much time on this, but to get this game to feel the way it does, right? They had to go back and recreate all the real tracks that are in the game with this new 3D scanning technology, which goes down to like 3 millimeters or something. And that's every inch of the road. And you're talking about tracks that are miles long, right? So every single perspective, every undulation, every bump in the road where it can separate tire contact even for a split second is there, right? That's a start. Then they build an entirely dynamic weather system that has 17 different weather starting points, meaning it can start in like haze or fog or light clouds or light drizzle or heavy rain or thunderstorms. And then it's dynamic. So that changes over the course of the race, And that's one aspect. And then they build the cars. So you've got several hundred cars that are all different weights, dynamics, tire sizes, power, engine layouts, drivetrains, all these, minute differences, right? And you got to get those to feel accurate and realistic, right? And then you've got to build in a penalty system that's intelligent to try and understand what every car on the track is doing, why it did it, was it intentional or not intentional, right? Then you have to build in machine learning AI for the CPU to act like real racers. So they have to know how to get around the track properly, what lines to take, how to avoid other players. And you just add all these layers up. And you start to think about how much work and dev time probably went into all these different aspects to get the completed product that it is. And this is not just true of Forza, right? But other racing games as well. And it's just like, it's really, really impressive. So I think I always hated that phrase. It's just a racing game, because I know how much work goes into them. But playing this and really digging into it is just like, that's such an insulting comment to that team. I mean, how much work they put in to do what they've done here. The second thing I was going to say is, I think you mean that it's a racing/sports game, Mains. Exactly. Right. Exactly.
I hate that. That's my least favorite thing about the rewards. They just made a category for all the games they don't like, and
it's like, oh, you don't have a story.
Racing.
Yeah, you're over here. Yeah, whatever. Rob in the chat asked me about PC versus Xbox performance. So I played a healthy amount on both. I actually still play on both. I play it at max everything on my PC. It's beautiful, runs super well. 2 things to call out on PC, though. One, it still caps at 60 FPS, even in the uncapped mode for whatever reason. And it has this weird bug that I'm literally working with turn 10 on right now, where once in a while your frame rate will cut in half. So like you'd be racing 60, 60, 60, all of a sudden it's 30, and it's 30 for like 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, and then it goes back to 60, which is very strange, right? And if you're in the middle of a competitive race, that's a problem. So I'm working with them on that. They're trying to figure out, I had to do benchmarking and all that to give to them. On the Series X, I've also played a lot. It is beautiful. It runs exceedingly well, and I have had no issues on the Series X. It has 3 modes: performance ray tracing, and quality mode. I usually play in either performance or performance ray tracing. I can't do 30 FPS in a racing game. But it runs very well. No issues. So I would say don't be afraid. Like, don't think PC is it's like light years ahead of Xbox. Sure, it's sharper in a lot of details, right? But it looks fantastic and plays fantastic on Xbox as well. So
did you get your video review done, by the way? Did that work out?
Yes, I did. I worked, the video review's been up. It's doing very well. Ray and I were talking this morning, actually. So we had a different editor for this video review. He did a fantastic job. It was great to work with him. And it came out really well, I think. So, Abantis.
Yes.
This morning, I dove in with a cup of coffee, and I was like, I had 20 minutes. And I'm like, there's no way I can beat him in 20 minutes, because you know how long.
Oh,
how many laps you have to do. I got you by.
Oh God.
600ths of a second, my friend.
And he had the screen ready.
He had
600ths of a second.
Yeah.
So the funny thing as you look at this, right, is Abantis and I have been going back and forth. We've traded top times, I think 5 times now on this.
The trades are getting up there.
Yeah, and I honestly don't have much left in me. The interesting thing I wanted to call it Abantis is Screamies, who's a buddy of mine. He is part of a Forza test group, and he is extremely fast. So the fact that me and you are above him by a couple of tenths, is impressive. And as you can see, the other people on my list are not even in the ballpark.
No,
it's just
they don't
sorry, Pong. Sorry, Sean Dupree.
Yet,
sorry, Butch. But yeah, that's how competitive it gets. Is that 3 guys are within 5/10 of a second, having played hundreds of laps, literally hundreds of laps. So if you beat me on that one, my friend, I'm just going to let it go. You can have it. I'm going to retire.
I was like, I will have to put in some time and see. But yeah, if it gets up to another hour again, I'll do it and break. That race I think will be around for a while. I will tell you the BRZ one. If you beat me on that one, I will let that go, because there's
already
only a few days left.
I'm not playing it anymore.
No, I can't stand driving that car. That is the funny thing about when I said all the cars are different. I'll drive that Corvette all day long. I don't care if it's in the rain. That BRZ, I can't stand driving that car, and I don't know why. It's so bad. It's one of those. It's like, it doesn't have that much power. It's not that fast. It's like a little stronger. It's like a little stronger than Miata, but somehow the back end is also as loose as a Corvette in the rain. I'm like, how are you so bad? I don't understand.
It's a mess. During the review period, Chris Sasaki, the creative director, was in front of me on the leaderboard, and I was like, you know what? I'm reviewing it. I got to beat him. So I took me like, I don't know how many laps. A lot of laps.
I did want to bring up one thing, which was kind of in my thoughts as I was kind of putting my review together. My one main issue is the car upgrade system.
Yes.
And the way the system is set up now. Now, there are some pluses to it, and I think I know what they're going for, but there are definitely some minuses in my head. Because as you play through, like, we played 50, 60 hours. I have like 3 million credits at this point. The credits are used to buy the cars. And no car is really over about 450 grand. I haven't seen one more than that.
No,
so
that's about right.
The car pricing is reasonable after you start playing for a while. And the more you play, you're like, hey, I want to go pick up a Bugatti. It's like, that's $1 million plus car in real life. It's only about 400 something in the game. So you can pick up the cars, and you can even rent them for a free race for $0. Yep. You don't even have to buy them. But when it comes to upgrading a car, so when you go for any of the tours, you're going to pick a car and go through it. And as you start, you have, say, 300 car points. I think that's just the currency they use. Travis will love my discussion over currency, so that's always fun. This is our Destiny loathing. But you have 300 car points. And the issue that I have, there's 2. One, when you start, there are a lot of things that are locked behind car levels. And the only way to get the car levels up is to spend time driving. There's no way. And I don't mind that to some extent. Like what Forza says is, hey, they want you to fall in love with these cars, get used to driving them around the track. And as you go, if you just buy a new car, strap every upgrade on it, and you're holding onto a rocket ship, you're probably not going to drive that well because you don't even know what it drives like in the first place. So I understand the idea of taking the stock car with like, add an intake on there. Cool. Take your first race. Now you get a few more points, couple levels up, and you do a little bit more and a little bit more. The problem is later on, now that if we get to a point where like, hey, I have 100 hours, let me go buy the, Dodge Viper ACR race car and let me do a couple modifications. Nope, can't do that. I can't even do weight reduction or anything because it's still locked behind a level. And my main issues are the fact that the upgrades come at the exact same level for every car.
Yep.
So if you want to do weight reduction, it is level 20 on a Miata and an NSX prototype car. It is always going to be level 20 for weight reduction. So what I wish they would do, I'm kind of okay with the leveling. I wish there would be freedom in what you could pick, because if the first thing I want to do on my Corvette was do set of like maybe brakes, or maybe I want to do tire compound first thing, that would be nice if I had the points to do it, but I have to wait till level 11 to even see that as an option. So that is my one issue of upgrading the cars. Now, when you and I are doing rivals, it's a stock car. You don't touch it. So then by the time I'm done trying to beat your time, which I'm going to have to go do now, thank you for that. When I'm done with that, my car is going to be level 50 and I'm going to have everything available. Then I'm not going to worry about it. But as you're going through just the little progressions, I see kind of what they're going for. But later on down the road, I think that's where it's going to get to be really annoying in my head. Some of those.
I agree with you. I said in my review that one of my traditions is I buy an E36 M3 and a 944 turbo Porsche, cars I own in real life and, kind of raced. And one of my traditions in every game, like where those cars are in the game, is I buy them, I modify them to make them just like my real life car, and then I just go race them right around the track to get a feel, because I know what those cars feel like. I can't do that in this game. I'd have to buy them, race them for a few hours each, and then be able to upgrade them, which is really annoying. So I'm okay with it.
You buying and racing cars you own in real life is a little bit like that episode of The Office where Dwight plays Second Life and he makes his life exactly like his real life. Where he works at a paper company as an assistant manager. Yeah.
He was trying to make second life.
Yeah, exactly.
That's hilarious. Actually.
But yeah, I like the idea of car points and just buying cars.
You don't
with
spend
credits.
money and you can dabble with any upgrade, turn them on, turn them off. Doesn't cost you, which I do like. But
but they've got to remove it from the individual car for sure. Like they've got to fix something about that. So I think they will. That's the thing most people have complained about, even since before the reviews. The preview periods were complaining about that. Yeah. So I think they'll change that over time. I hope. So
live service game.
Yes, live service game. It is.
As we all know, there's two types of live service games that don't work out. There's those with foundational issues where the game itself just isn't fun to play. Let's call that the Babylon Falls of the world. And then
I had forgotten about that.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's.
I haven't.
Falls, because that sounds like you're in a raft and it's like a waterfall simulator.
I have not forgotten about that game because I think about live service games a lot. And then there's the games that have a very good foundation that fail at the live service part. Let's call those the Halo Infinites.
Don't you dare use Halo for that example. That's not a good example.
He said it played well.
A prime example.
He said failed in the live service. Oh, it did the first year.
Fail in the live service.
Failed in the live service part. It's a great game with a bad live service model, as opposed to
that's
Destiny,
not true anymore.
As opposed to Destiny, which is a bad game with a good live service model. How confident are you guys? Do you have a sense that Turn 10 can handle that sort of thing? Because I've not talked to anybody on their team, but I don't know about how their development team is structured. Do they have seasonal teams? Do they have
they already have a plan for. There's a 4-minute video on like what their live content offering is going to be, and they've got spec rate. So even right now, there's a featured tour for single player, and you go in. There's a tour. There's a series that's this week. Then there's a series that's next week. Then there's a series the week after that. Series the week after that. If you just complete all 4 series, you don't even think you have to win them. You're going to unlock the finisher series to get the Acura prototype, which I can't even remember all the letters that go in that one. That's just the single player piece of it. Then for multiplayer, you've got spec races that are going to rotate through. There's like the GT, and then I can't remember the name of the other one. There's 2 that are going to be there, and then they're going to prototype tour. So there's 2 that are going to rotate. I think those are almost going to be staples, and there's others that are going to be rotating through. They're going to have spotlight cars where right now, if you want to buy the BRZ, please don't. It's awful. Let it go. You can buy it for sale, but you can also buy like next week when I don't know what car that is that's coming up. That's going to be spotlighted and discounted. So if you do want to pick up a car and it's spotlighted for a specific tour or a rivals race like the Viper is, they're all discounted. So there's incentive to kind of like go with whatever the featured race is, the featured rival, the featured this one. The cars will be cheaper, and then you're going to spend some time with those anyway. And also they've got a plan for those. There's a 30 car pack. That's one thing I did want to ask you about. The premium bundle. In my head, if you're going to play this game for an extended period of time, it's almost required. In my head. Because you get double the credits for every single race. You get VIP entry to certain events, which you wouldn't have otherwise, which you want to make sure you can get in every event. You're going to have the 30 car pack, which is a car every week. You're going to have 8 spec race cars and then the 5 starter cars. The 5 starter cars are nice because then you go through the opening tour and you spend $0 for the entire like modern tour.
Yeah, it's a little dirty. The premium pack is almost required. Yeah,
pretty much
it's a little dirty.
Yep.
I hate that.
Yeah, it's true. It's all true.
That makes the game feel like the progression was designed well.
No, there's no XP gain.
Yeah,
well, I guess credits, I guess. But
that's the thing is like early on, the credits will help because I mean, right now I might have 1.5 million instead of 3 million, but I'm not spending my credits though. No. I'm spending hours racing a spec car, getting cramps on my hand trying to drive this Corvette against Haynes, and I haven't spent a penny. So it's like if you play for a while, the credits after a point aren't going to matter. But it's more the access to other things that I kind of wish wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
The progression speeding up though, I think it affects how fun it is versus how much of it feels like a grind. And if you're the second class citizen that didn't pay for premium or double XP gain for Assassin's Creed or whatever, and it just makes the game feel like twice as slow. I hate that part.
But no, I agree with you. But remember, it's only credits. So it's got nothing to do with car leveling, what you can buy, nothing like that. It's just credits. But the good thing about the game is Abantus pointed out,
I think Forza Horizon does XP. I think they do double XP as well for leveling up. And
they do special wheels.
And they do extra spins.
Yeah, spins, exactly. The super spins.
Yeah. You definitely feel second class if you don't have the premium version of that game for sure.
Yeah. Well, and on Horizon, which they'll probably do with Motorsport as well, they just send you free cars randomly if you're a VIP person.
It's true.
Right? So yeah. But no, I agree with you. I think that's why to me this game is an 8, right? I kind of went back and forth, and obviously when you're in the review period, you don't know what other people were reviewing it. And I told some friends, like as my review was coming out, that I could see people giving this a 9 and I could see people giving it a 6. I wouldn't agree with a 6.
Like my Starfield thoughts.
That's
exactly I wouldn't where my head was. I could see all of that. So,
but if you're not into core circuit racing, this game's got nothing else for you. But then again, it's Forza Motorsport. It's supposed to be core circuit racing, right? So you kind of know what you're getting into. I've told plenty of people, if you like fun racing games, are casual, play Horizon. That's your game. Or Crew Motorfest, really good game. Don't bother with Motorsport. It's really not for you. So, but. I think that's enough on Forza. Unless anyone has any questions or anything else.
I was going to say though, not to say if you aren't into spec race like motorsport racing, obviously this is what this is. But I will say the difficulty and accessibility options and driving assist. There is a range of player that could pick up a controller or sit down in a sim racer, and they can both have a good experience because the difficulty level. I don't know what you've been racing at the AI. I'm at about 5 or 6.
I'm 6 with expert rules.
Okay. Yeah. I haven't messed with 7 or 8 because
8 is rough, dude.
I'm I haven't messed with those. So I'm there is definitely a challenge sitting out there. If you're going 8 and expert rules and you're winning, you should probably go into multiplayer because you're doing a damn good job. But if you also crank it down to 1, you do nice rules, you turn some assists on. There's a lot of people who can play the game. I mean, there's a point where you could probably hold the controller. If you turn on full steering assist, full braking assist.
Yeah, you can play with one hand.
You can almost play with that. And then they've also got the blind driving mode, which still blows me away that exists. So if you haven't seen that YouTube video, go watch that one. That was an amazing feature they added. But I just wanted to say, if you like the idea, but you're not sure about your skill level, there's a wide spectrum of skill levels that can start. Then you can turn off a lot of the assists as you progress your skill. That was one of the big shout outs I wanted to give them because they give a big range of options for that.
Very true. Yeah, Steve Saylor, the blind gamer, really well known. He worked with them on it and did a video on it. To your point around saying like he can actually play this game, which is amazing, right? So yeah, there's tons and tons of options, ways to play this game. So very good call out there.
So I mean, if I've gotten everything correct, there is no like real career mode as like they had in 7. Like Forza Motorsport 7.
It's a series. It's multiple series of races that you do. But it's not like you're not building up a player. Like you're not unlocking packs or anything like that. You're just racing different series.
Yeah. So there's a bunch of single player series you can go through, but that's mostly what that is. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, if you're worried about skill level, to Avantis' point, you can absolutely play this and be competitive and win at any level. Yeah.
And it also will challenge you pretty well on the high end.
I'll win at every level.
Of course you will.
Good luck.
You will.
You guys
it gets tough.
When you beat both of our ghosts, then welcome to the party of top 3%.
I'm gonna message you guys the entire monologue from Fast and Furious and be like, "You never had me. You never had your car. Granny shifting." Yeah.
You will do that. You won't be on the leaderboard. You won't be on the leaderboard, but we will get a monologue from Fast and Furious.
Not double clutching, Granny
shifting like you should.
That's how I pass Avantis. He's out there granny shifting. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous.
Sure,
no, he called me out because I've been doing automatic for a while. He's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, I just haven't done it yet. So finally to catch up, I had to switch over to manual.
He had an automatic gearbox.
I know.
Come on.
I was apparently a little too casual for my own good. And then I passed you, and then you had to pull out the racing gloves, and then I passed you again. Then I'm gonna get the racing seat, and then we'll have to pass you again. So I will let you guys get back to your normal podcast. Thank you for letting me talk about Forza.
No, thanks for
talk too much. I did want to say one thing. I played Cocoon yesterday. Please play that game.
Heard it's great.
It is.
I need to play it.
It is an easy 9. I don't know if it's higher, but to me, it is so. It's from the guy. It's Jesse. I can't remember his name. It's the guys from Playdead Studios. It's one of the ones who did that and
Limbo and
Inside. Yep,
Inside. Okay.
And the puzzle design is an absolute masterpiece. So please,
I'm surprised Hogan, unless we just haven't gotten to it, Hogan. I'm surprised Hogan and Travis haven't touched this game yet.
I have it downloaded.
I would have talked about it last week.
Yeah. Have you played it?
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Then sorry, I just wanted to say that because like I played it literally last night, and I want everybody to know. Please check that game out. It's stellar. So thank you guys
out there playing Cocoon while you should be living your life a quarter mile at a time, man. I don't know what you're doing.
Well, guess what I'm going to go do this afternoon? Well, there's a Formula 1 race in about 55 minutes. I'm going to watch that and then I'll go. So
nice. All right. Good luck. And please don't DM me. I'm tired. I can't do it anymore.
Oh no. After you beat me the first time with the I will keep it clean, the blank eating grin. When you beat me the first time, yeah, you're going to get a DM if you get beaten. That's just how this goes now. So
fair enough. Have
a good one, everybody. Good to see you guys. I'll see you
Thank you, man. See you later. So we were, like I said, we were talking a lot about Forza, and I figured it'd be fun to have him jump on. He hasn't. I think we've had him on Bitcast once, like 4 years ago. It's been a very long time. So, that
was before me, huh?
Long time. Yeah, very long time ago. Yeah. Anyway, we'll move on. That's a lot of Forza. I can touch on Assassin's Creed Mirage, but before we
Mirage,
I know. I from now on, I'm just going to say Assassin's Creed, and you have to finish it. That's going to be the deal. Okay.
Very well.
All right. Hogue, I'm going to jump over to you because you weren't here last week. You did say you would have talked about Cocoon last week, and I'm sure you've got Hogue's notes ready to roll.
I do.
What do we got? I
got a lot, actually. So, yeah, if I were here last week, I would have talked about Cocoon a little bit, which is getting wildly praised in the review circuit, and you heard from Abantis just now. I don't love it as much as others. It's a fairly standard indie puzzle environment game. If you like those, great. If you don't, I don't think it's going to change your mind.
Wow.
Don't you like those puzzle games though, or are you not really into those?
The ones that are really puzzle oriented, like just we don't really care what environment you're in or what you're doing, but we've got orbs in the case of Cocoon, or instruction manual pages in that one with the fox man. What is that? Tunic. They all seem to be one word titles. You notice that? I don't love that style of game so much. So Cocoon, check it out. It's worth playing. It's on Game Pass, absolutely. But it isn't my favorite. I haven't reacted to it or responded to it like others have, which doesn't mean that you won't respond to it like they have. So give it a try.
Okay.
I would have also said last week that we were playing a game called Mineko's Night Market.
I'm only laughing because you always pull out a title that I literally haven't heard of. So good.
So random.
Mineko's Night Market is a celebration of cozy gaming and Japanese culture, I believe is on the description.
Yep.
Fair enough.
You're a little girl that moves to town where there's a night market, and you go and you get flowers and make crafts to sell at the night market, and you bargain for how much you're going to sell it for, and you experience a town story, essentially.
Is a night market just a market that's open late, or is there something else going on here?
Night markets are a cultural phenomenon in Asia, and I know this because I live in an Asian community in San Francisco where we have night markets, and it's kind of like
that didn't answer the question. Is it just a market that's open at night?
It has very specific foods and fireworks and kind of like an Asian culture vibe. It's kind of it's like I don't really know how to describe it. It's just
they sell them, or they're setting them off at night.
Oh, they're setting them off. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So kind of like an Asian farmer's market in the
kind of. Yeah, that's kind of, except for it's less health foods and more kind of like fun, and it's like a little neighborhood festival carnival.
I've never come to a farmer's market in Michigan. We've got like cinnamon rolls and.
Oh, are they not healthy in Michigan?
They
really?
They have some healthy stuff. You can get a salad if you want, but I mean, we've got an empanada truck. We've got all sorts of stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But Mineko's Night Market, I got it on the Switch. I have to give a warning here because if you look at it, you'd think, oh, that's an easy buy on the Switch. Switch can run that. It's not terribly well, programmed for the Switch. It's got performance issues. It's got load times and kind of hiccups in the frame rate. So I know it's on PC. I'd probably recommend looking for it elsewise from the Switch, but it's worth playing. I've still been playing Fae Farm. I know we talked about that earlier, and we also added to that Paleo Pines, which is essentially a kind of dinosaur ranching game that's for the kids. You have a blue dinosaur named Lucky, and you go around town and you farm and you fix up your ranch and you do dinosaur related things. I think it's you do dinosaur related things. What else can I say about this?
I know, it's just what are dinosaur related things? What are dinosaurs known for doing?
If you imagine your dinosaurs in this are like horses or other farm animals, you kind of get the deal.
Okay, all right. Fair enough.
Fucking listening. God damn it.
You had to talking about Paleo Pies.
Oh my god. Oh man.
It's enjoyable though. If you like these kinds of cozy games and doing little things that don't involve murdering anyone. Paleo Pines, Fae Farm, Mineko's Night Market. It's the Hoag's Notes.
No, that sounds great. I laughed at the phrase dinosaur related things because I was thinking to myself, do we know what dinosaurs were doing at all hours of the day? Like,
you make it into those Tyson nuggets. You know what one of the big games I've been playing this week that I knew wasn't going to get its own kind of section is a game called Silent Hope, which is on Switch. I don't know where else it is. I think it might be a Switch exclusive. I haven't purchased it elsewhere. But it's a game by Marvelous, people that do Harvest Moon games. And it's a game where I can give you the fairy tale setting here, but it's there's a kingdom. The king goes crazy. He takes everybody's words. Nobody can speak anymore. And he dives into a hole. He jumps into a hole, which we call the abyss, and he never comes back. The princess of the kingdom is very upset about this. She's distraught. She cries for 100 years until the tears form a crystal around herself. After this,
after this,
did you say classic? Did you say classic, Travis? I can't stop. Oh my god.
Carry on. on, sir.
Yes, I will. Absolutely. After the princess is cocooned in her own tear crystal, 7 lights come out of the abyss and arrive as 7 different people that do different things in front of the princess. Now, they can't speak, but the princess gets her ability to speak back, and she can speak telepathically to all 7 of them. And so your job is to jump into the abyss and try to make it through the levels of the dungeon and then come back with the materials, and each of the 7 of you will be running one of the shops, like a farm or a florist, or making meals or making weapons or cutting wood, whatever it is. And each of you has different powers in the dungeon, and each of you do different things at the shops back up top. So you go down a little bit and then you come back with materials, you make new weapons, you go down with another person. And there's some balancing stuff that happens a little bit like Diablo, in that you all have a certain amount of health potions. And then at certain points in the dungeon, you can swap to a different person. And the last person gives a bonus to the next person. So like one of them will give you a 30% bonus to defense. So you're kind of strategically organizing how you're going to progress through these dungeons and level up, use skill trees, all that fun stuff, and get
like
better.
A roguelite. Do you keep rerunning?
You keep rerunning, but it's not a roguelite. You get penalized for dying, and the princess says, "Oh, good try. You'll get it next time, I hope." That kind of thing. But it's more like a dungeon crawl that has a pretty limited death component. I will say, if you look at pictures of this, it's very cute. It's very family friendly. It's very colorful and kind of Switch oriented. The runs are not super long. So even when you run into a dungeon, if you're having a good run, it's probably 20 minutes. So it's very much rigged for kind of a Switch or mobile interaction timing, but I love it. It's really good. I recommend it. Silent Hope. Check that one out. I believe it was on a Nintendo Direct a little while back.
Okay.
And then the other Switch game that I got.
Love that you found something weirder than the trick hole. You know, maybe that's where her tears came out of, the 100 years of crying. I don't know. It's great.
It's a lot of crying.
It's a lot of. It comes out of the trick hole. Trick holes do crazy.
I hope she had water on hand. That's a lot.
For sure.
Yeah, she's pretty dehydrated in there.
Lost a lot of water weight though. I bet you her.
My girls were worried. They want to rescue the princess. They're like, when are you going to rescue her? I'm like, I don't know. We're still on floor 1.
She's in another castle.
No, she hovers right there above the abyss.
Obviously.
It's a floating crystal. I'm sorry. Did I not?
Yeah, no, of course. No, of course. Yeah, she's. Why wouldn't she be floating above the abyss in her tear crystal?
You have to rescue the princess who's floating?
So the princess is alive in her crystal, and she's speaking to you telepathically, and you're trying to go figure out what this abyss is about and probably try to get speech back to the kingdom. But honestly, I'm not far enough along to know exactly what we're going to try to do ultimately. We're trying to go deep into the hole and figure out what's going on.
I'm done.
Dan's out. But
I'm gonna need weekly updates on this one, Hoog.
Oh, sure.
I need to understand what's going on here.
Honestly, Ains, as a fellow enjoyer of Diablo, I think you will find it to be an enjoyable game. It's got a Diablo kind of feel to it, and certainly Diablo 1, which is just you're in a town and there's a dungeon.
You said it's on PC and Switch?
I said it's on Switch. I don't know about anywhere else. It might be a Switch exclusive.
I think it's on PC and Switch, and it's coming to PlayStation, Xbox later this month.
Cool.
Okay, let me take a look at it. Not loud hope.
I might be thinking. Sorry, I might be thinking of Mineko's Night Market. Actually,
Mineko's Night Market is on PC.
Yeah, I think it comes to Xbox and PlayStation later. I think I got that confused.
All right.
Silent Hope I thought was just for Switch, but I don't know. I can't pretend that I bought it on multiple platforms.
Hey, by the way, Forza Motorsport's live on Steam with advanced access, not early access, advanced access. So
I mean, I guess the name is better, but the game is still out.
Anyway, carry on, Hogue. Carry on. What else we got?
Yes. I have a few more. So another one that I've been really enjoying this week is Disgaea 7.
Yes. Okay.
So you might know Disgaea as a series. It's kind of an anime tropes meets strategy RPG game series. And the 7th is obviously the 7th entry in that series. I bought it on Switch. They've gone from 2D when it first started to 3D, and this one seems to be working better than 6 did on that score. But you have to like kind of anime comedy hijinks if you're going to get into Disgaea. But otherwise, if you do, you'll be able to play it for like hundreds of hours because they let you do all the things that the old Disgaea games did with upgrading your items by playing strategy levels. And I highly recommend it if you like strategy RPGs. If you don't, it's not going to change your mind.
Yeah. Yeah, I know Elu, who is our main editor at SG, and everyone knows he's usually in the chat. He was really looking forward to that one. He loves Disgaea, so that's good to hear that it's pretty good. By the way, Silent Hope is on Steam and Switch. Katie Cotton just called it out in our chat, but I just looked it up on Steam as well. It's $39.99, currently 10% off, so you can get it for $36 if you want to check that out. By the way,
on PC, so yeah, check it out. Enjoy, highly recommended. I've also been playing Lamplighters League, which is a Game Pass game.
Nice.
Any
I
good?
previewed that one.
Schemes. You previewed that?
Yep, I previewed that.
Is it any good? I was curious about the concept. It looks cool, but I haven't played it.
Yeah, I mean, I like Harebrained Schemes. They did the Shadowrun remakes.
Cool.
It's kind of a 1920s adventure vibe with I don't know if you played. I can't remember what the name of the game was. I think it was Mutant Year Zero, which had like the crazy duck, and it has the real time component of where you're walking around the map and trying to get the drop on people, and then when combat starts, it goes into a turn-based, square-based type XCOM game. It's that design, but it's very good. Again, a lot of strategy games for me.
Yeah, it does an interesting. I would say its biggest change from like XCOM aims is that it's more of like a story where like you'll start out and you're not in turn-based mode. You're kind of freely moving around, and you'll even do like stealth sections. And then all of a sudden you'll get into combat and you'll take out all the goons that you fight. I say goons because it's got a 1920s vibe. You know, you got to use the terminology from the era. And then after you take them all down, you'll go back into real-time mode and continue to explore until you get the next encounter. So it's not like diving into the world, doing a quick turn-based thing and then going back to base. You kind of like advance from thing to thing to thing. And so that does a few things. One, it breaks up kind of the monotony of the same gameplay loop over and over, but it also means you have to strategize for longer because you have to worry about extending your resources for 3 or 4 encounters, usually one concluding in a boss fight, rather than going in, doing a quick encounter, and then getting out and being able to restock. And so there's kind of an interesting thing there.
Mario and Rabbids, I know it's obviously, different genre, but it plays like that, right? Kind of open world. You wander around and then you have your encounters.
Oh, that one you're diving into. You kind of you walk around and then you go into a separate map when you do it. This one is like you're actually on the same map, like you're exploring and then you find it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I have to check it out.
It's like you trigger events whenever you get into combat. Kind of
it
like
really does remind me of Mutant Year Zero, but no talking ducks yet.
No talking ducks.
I liked Mutant Year Zero. I had fun with that game.
Yeah, I think it's underrated. But yeah, I would say my biggest complaint about it, based on the preview, I have not played it since it came out, was that the combat system was a little simplified for people who are like hardcore, kind of like chunky turn-based fans. I felt like it was a little like toned down. But I did like the boss fight that I played in the demo and stuff like that. So it seems really good. And the story seems interesting. I like that each of the characters has different personalities that kind of determine how they play. Like you'll have like a stealthy kind of like thief, or a bruiser who's all about like just like knocking people down and overwhelming them with brute force and stuff like that. It's kind of interesting mechanics.
Cool. Yep. And if you're not aware, I know Lamplighters League and Cocoon are both on Game Pass as well.
They
this
are.
week, so yeah.
And speaking of
Forza Tuesday,
pretty good week for Game Pass.
Yeah.
Speaking of thieves, I have been playing a lot of Assassin's Creed Mirage. Yes, for those that don't know me or my tilts on this, because I don't think an Assassin's Creed has come out since I've been on this show. I love Assassin's Creed as a franchise. I've loved both versions, really, the stealth versions and the RPG versions. So Mirage has actually been a bit of a surprise to me because they marketed it as going back to the Assassin's Creeds of old, and it is certainly kind of streamlined from Valhalla, but it's definitely in the Valhalla Odyssey Origins space. It's more like a smaller version of the RPGs with a stealth emphasis than going back to like Syndicate or before.
Interesting. So there's still there's still like equipment that you're drops that you're getting out of chests and upgrading.
Oh, it's the Valhalla
and-
system straight up, right? So it's specific
interesting.
equipment, it's specific armor, it's specific weapons that have essentially perks, and then upgrades.
So what you're saying is that they promoted the game as one thing, but actually that was not exactly true. It was like we saw it in the distance, but then as we got closer, we realized it was actually an illusion of some kind. What would you call that, Oak?
I don't know what I would
type?
call that.
I would call it, there's a word for it. It's on the tip of my tongue. A mirage.
There you go. But I love it. I love it. It's gorgeous. They've kind of re-envisioned the way they do missions to use the I don't know how useful this is for people who don't play the games, but like the Order of the Ancient screen that used to be collecting clues to figure out who you need to assassinate is now kind of the way their main missions are structured.
Oh, okay.
So you get clues to figure out what you're doing in the game. And I think that's a nice touch. And then the actual missions themselves is where I think the big change was made. Instead of rolling in as a Viking and hitting people with an axe, they're all kind of the old Assassin's Creed format of, okay, there's something you need there behind that locked door. This person has the key. There's 16 guards. Go nuts. And I think it's really well done. It's got a really strong stealth gameplay loop, but it isn't this kind of straightforward, linear, half Grand Theft Auto mission structure that the old ones had. It is very much a small Valhalla in a single city.
Interesting. I know, and I'll get to Alex's super chat because Alex was playing it for us originally as part of the review. Steve actually reviewed it for us, but then I also talked to Mo, who's been on the show many times, and Mo reviewed it for Console Creatures, one of our other indie outlets out of Canada, and they both really like it as well. They're pretty high on it. I think Mo said he would have given it like an 8. They don't do scores over at Console Creatures, but would have given it like an 8. I don't know what IGN rated it. Do you know off the top of your head, Travis?
It's an 8.
Was it an 8 as well? Okay.
I'd be 8 pushing 9. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. People seem to really like it. I know that the kind of Metacritic score for it's a little lower. I think it's like mid 70s. Yeah, see, everyone I've talked to who was looking forward to this being more of a condensed Assassin's Creed, maybe that's a decent word for it, Hogue, has really enjoyed it. So everyone I've talked to has really liked it quite a bit.
Well, I mean, I'm on the record saying I think the Valhallas of the world got too big, honestly. I don't think it's useful to have a game with narrative push that only gets you halfway through. And no narrative that I've ever seen could get you through a game the size of Valhalla. So I like that they've smallened it up. Good English from me. But
good English.
It works for me.
It's
kind of a callback to the old Assassin's Creeds. Dan, I know I mentioned this before when I was in previews, but I can verify that the contract system they use gives you kind of small levels. I don't know whether they're procedural or there's just a lot of them. It gives you kind of small levels that have that Hitman vibe. It's you get a little bit of narrative background, and then it's go figure out how to take this guy out or go figure out how to steal this mirror or whatever it is. And that really works for the game because it's just put something in a place that's protected and figure it out.
Yeah, I've been playing it too. It's I don't know, man. Assassin's Creed to me kind of peaked at Brotherhood, so that's way back there. But
I think it peaked at Michael Fassbender flying on a giant robot.
That's
arguably Odyssey, but that's fine.
Yeah, I mean,
really,
Odyssey was great. Odyssey was one of my out of that trilogy was probably my favorite one for sure. But
I just like AC2.
That was a good one too.
My favorite one.
You just like hitting the Pope in the face. Is that
basically?
Yeah.
You know how much I hate.
Are we still talking about Assassin's Creed?
Yeah.
Surprisingly,
you want to talk about zany game endings? Assassin's Creed 2.
Assassin's Creed 2's game ending is amazing. I love
an alien, and you have to stop him.
Hey, spoilers! It's only been 15 years.
The Pope isn't an alien, okay? He has alien technology, all right? It's different. The alien is in the wall or something weird like that. I loved that game, and I felt like it was the best part of Assassin's Creed's story, like their overarching story, which we haven't seen in a while. Ezio is a great character. You know, I didn't like having to hunt
great, and Ezio is better than Basim, but Basim is going back to the hey, we might actually need to put characters in these games.
Yeah, that'd be great. Rather than just letting you. Yeah, I hate that.
I hate that guy.
So I was going to say, Dan,
honest.
how far are you into it? Because
probably
Dan,
about-
if you're newer to our audience, you weren't around when Dan
For the
famously
Valhalla?
gave Valhalla a 7, and
7.
all hell broke loose because it was low. A 7 was low in comparative to other reviews, and it was quite the scene for a few months after that. But anyway, how far in this are you?
Starfield.
I'm probably
Like Starfield.
about 6 hours in, probably ish,
Okay.
maybe a little bit more. Here's the thing: I don't like Bassam at all. Like, I have to kind of want, and I said this last week, and going into it, knowing who he is, and because this is kind of a prequel to Valhalla. This was supposed to be a DLC originally, right? So, and they just kind of made it its own little standalone thing. I appreciate what they try to do with the stealth stuff. I think it's a lot more like the older games. I think they also could have probably done a little bit more. I think they went like too extreme, like right off the bat. I don't think they had to do that. I think they could have made it a little bit more. It doesn't feel very modern in as far as like the gameplay and stuff goes. And a few things that, like you said, they took that Order of the Ancients, and basically that's your main kind of deal there. It almost feels a little bit lazy. I don't like the skill tree at all. I think some of that stuff should just be there, like immediately. It's much better than Valhalla's, because Valhalla's was a complete disaster and a mess. There was way too much. There was like 300, 400 different little nodes that you had to activate. It was insane. But it's fun. I mean, I love Assassin's Creed, so I'm having a good time with it. Like I said, don't care for the character very much. He's kind of boring to me. So the story's not like really clicking so far with me, but it's fine. That's about as much as I can say about it right now.
Fine.
It's fine. It's another Assassin's Creed game. It's
Yeah. Do you like Assassin's Creed? I mean, like it's not going to change your mind.
No, I loved it. Yeah, it's one of my favorite franchises.
Yeah, and I love the historical tourism aspect of it.
I do too.
And Baghdad is as cool as any of the other places that they've built. So I really enjoy that. And
I think saw Mo say something about it, but I've been playing it with the Arabic language with the subtitles.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same way as like when you play Japanese games. You heathens.
Yeah, you got to play Yakuza in Japanese with subtitles, not like
get out of here.
Travis's ridiculous comments.
I played Far Cry 6 in Spanish. It's crazy.
You can't take Avasarala away from me, so I'm keeping it on English.
Yeah,
thank you.
That's kind of fair too, though. She's awesome. That's kind of fair.
Yeah, she's good. But yeah, it's fine. I mean, like I said, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna reserve my judgment until I'm all the way through it, which probably won't take me very long. I might have it done by this week, but
I think Steve said 20, like under 25. I think 24 hours, something like that.
Yeah, it won't take me very long.
Something like that.
It depends on how far I decide to go with all the other stuff. But yeah, I feel like I can, like the story's moving pretty quick. But I do like the smaller scale, I love like Baghdad, because it reminds me more of like when you were Venice, or back in like the old Assassin's Creed 2. You were there in that city and it felt like really alive, and this they did a really, really good job with that. So like the setting is amazing. Just wish I liked Aston more than I do. But
Fair enough. Awesome. Well, that's our review's up on that. Obviously, goes without saying IGN review, but if you check out Mo's review on Console Creatures, that would be cool. And our review is live from Steve as well. Like I said, Alex, I'm gonna grab his super chat, but also we'll get caught up on super chats here. But Alex also was playing it pre-release for us, and he did a ranking of all the Assassin's Creed games recently, which he's gonna add Mirage into somewhere. So I think traditionally, if I recall correctly, Alex was more on the 2 and Brotherhood camp as well. But anyway, let's get caught up on super chats. This is Alex.
Alex with $5 super chat. Mirage discourse is weird. Sorry, Mirage discourse.
There
is
you
weird.
go.
It is fair to criticize a game for doing what it said in the tin and not evolving. People wanted a simple Assassin's Creed game. This is.
Yes, it is fair to criticize a game for not evolving. It is totally Ubisoft's choice if they want to make a simpler version of AC, but that does not mean that consumers have to agree with that decision or like it. And therefore, how a game is marketed does not impact at all whether or not it's an enjoyable game to play. Also, games don't exist in a silo, so there's lots of Assassin's Creed-like games nowadays that maybe do it better. And so I'll say, yeah, it's totally fair to criticize a game for you not liking what it is. It doesn't really matter what the developers intended to do with it. If it's not fun, that's your opinion.
I'm going to say somewhat agree with Travis, somewhat disagree, because I do think there is a tendency for some reviewers to review something based on what they wanted it to be, regardless of whether or not that game wanted to be that thing.
I think everybody does that every time they review a game.
No. You don't review against some platonic ideal of what you would have made because you didn't make it.
I think everybody does that. I think no matter what you do, if you have any criticism about a game, it's because you would have done something different or you would have enjoyed it if it were a different way. And so you're always reviewing a game based off of what you wanted it to be. I think that's unavoidable. Now, there are some leaps that I would say are unrealistic or unreasonable. Like, I reviewed Forza Motorsport and I wanted it to be Forza Horizon. That's like you probably just picking the wrong game to review. But I think no matter what, any game that you play, if you have opinions on it, things that you think should be different, you are evaluating it based on things that you would have done differently. And so it's just really a matter of the degrees to which you do that. And I think there's a line maybe somewhere that is an unreasonable digression and one that is totally valid and fair. I think people saying, look, I get that they were trying to make a more simple Assassin's Creed game, I don't like it, is a fair criticism. You can do that. It doesn't matter that I have this problem. Some people say this in the review space where like, oh, well, it's what the developers were trying to make. And therefore you should base your review on how well they met their goals of what they wanted to do. And the problem with that criteria is that a developer could then claim, oh yeah, well, we wanted to make a buggy mess of a game that, runs at 20 FPS. And then you could be like, all right, well, you hit that bar 10 out of 10. Right. And so
Charles, baby.
Yeah, that's not how you should look at games. You should always look at game reviews as it meeting your criteria because it is your opinion and reviews are 100% opinion. And so I would just say, if you have an opinion, the important thing is that you were able to reason that opinion in a written way and prove to others that you came to a conclusion that makes sense for you. The score and the evaluation criteria are less important so much as the explanation for why you came to that conclusion. And so I don't have any problem with people basing their opinions on Mirage based on what they would have liked.
This is where I partly agree with you, Travis. If you put that in the review that, hey, I wanted this to be a racing game, and as it turns out, I'm running around the streets of Baghdad, and so I give it a 2. That's fine. That's fine.
Sure. I would say that's an unreasonable leap, but yeah, I guess you could do that.
And I would discount it and say, I'm not listening to this person ever again. And as long as we can have that discourse between reader and reviewer, then I think it's okay. But I think the problem is that you get this kind of implied platonic ideal of what I wanted a game to be that isn't as exposed when you read reviews. And then somebody says, this is dumpy because there aren't, 12 areas and I don't get to raid English towns in this one, so I give it a 5. And it's like, well, it's not a super fair way to review what Assassin's Creed Mirage is trying to do.
Yeah, and like I said, I think that there's a line there somewhere. The reason I take a stand on this is because people like to use these opinions to discredit genuinely held beliefs. We have somebody in the comments doing it right now who is a pretty ignorant person by the looks of their review of their comments.
Boy.
They'll say something like, I'll just read his most recent comment. He said, I don't like Batman, but I'll still decide to go see the Batman movie. I'm sure I'll be viewing it from an objective point of view. That's not what's happening here, right? It's not people who hate Assassin's Creed games going, I'm going to review the Assassin's Creed games and my perspective is going to be that I hate it. Like, outlets don't do that. Outlets pick reviewers.
I think he's agreeing with you. He's being sarcastic.
I know he's being sarcastic, but based on the comments that they're saying, that they're trying to say like that critics can't be trusted because they bring their slants toward it. Everybody brings their slants to everything. But my point is that if you are reviewing a game for a major outlet, you have been picked to review that game because you're the type of person who's interested in playing that game and would like to like it, right? It is likely to like it if it does all the things right that it wants to do. And so I just, people did this like during the Starfield review when Dan gave it a 7. They said, oh, well, Dan clearly just hates Bethesda games. He hates science fiction. And like none of those were true. Right. And so I have problems with people.
Not our Dan, folks.
Not our
Not
Dan.
me.
Sorry, Dan.
I haven't played it.
Right. If you're claiming to know somebody else's preferences and using it to discredit the things that they said in the review, I don't think you're being very fair or genuine. And that's why I have to speak up when I see stuff like that, because I feel like some people are trying to invalidate people's opinions. And I think there are times where you can do that, right? We talked about Hogwarts Legacy, where somebody gave the game a bad score because they hate J.K. Rowling. And I would say that is very fair to discredit it because it has nothing to do with the game. But if somebody writes 3,000 words about the things that are in a game that they didn't like and then gives it a lesser score than you, that's just a matter of opinion. You can disagree and move on. Like, there's no need to try to tear a person down.
Well, in fairness to Alex here, I would say he's not trying to tear a person down.
I don't think so.
Just asking.
I think. Yeah, I think. No, I'm not talking about Alex specifically. I'm trying to address something else. Alex, you're a good guy. I know.
Alex is a good guy. Thank you very much. So thank you, Alex, for the super chat. By the way, you want to talk about funny opinions? I forgot to mention this during the Forza bit. So if you didn't see, I posted what I thought was a very simple comment that we could all agree on, which is in Gran Turismo,
is a race
digital cars in a video game shouldn't sell out, meaning they shouldn't run out. Like, you can't buy them, which Gran Turismo does. And I said that innocently, thinking that's an obvious comment, right? We can all agree that's a silly idea. 1.3 million views later, I had the Sony weirdos coming for my head for making what I thought was an innocent comment. And then I followed that right up with my Forza review, which was about as detailed as I could be. Gave it an 8, and I had some Xbox guys coming to me saying an 8's too low. So I think I'm doing it right if I'm getting it from all angles.
Agreed.
I think I'm getting it in. So
I mean, everybody's just like the hardest thing to do if you're a reviewer, because to be honest, reviewing games is easy, right? It's just reviewing anything's easy. It's just your opinion. But the hardest part is sticking to your guns and saying what you believe, regardless of what the consequences will be. That is the hardest part of doing a review. So if you feel like you're doing that, even in face of people sending you death threats or telling you to kill yourself on Twitter, then then you have my respect. That's what it's all about.
Alex, thank you. Let's catch up on these other ones. We got Eric in the house.
Okay, Eric with $6.99 Canadian. Happy Canadian Thanksgiving, y'all. Hope everyone has an I want to watch football but have to go to the in-laws kind of day. Well, I'm bringing my
That's Dan's favorite day right there.
I'm bringing them to my house today, so
I'm going to stop at the comma.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
but we are
fair
watching
enough.
football with the in-laws. So
okay, all right,
yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Eric, hope you're doing well, man. Happy Canadian Thanksgiving to you. Debbie W in the house.
Debbie W with $20 super chat. The free Nerf map for Minecraft is super fun for those interested. Just don't forget to go back to the hub and buy new weapons every now and again. Spent a good 12 hours over the past few days playing it with my kiddo.
Awesome.
Thanks, Debbie. Yeah.
I don't know what this is. Yeah, I don't know what this is.
Yeah. It's I do. It's a Minecraft add-on, which the Minecraft marketplace is blowing up right now. Actually, I forgot to talk about a couple weeks ago. Minecraft came out with a Dungeons and Dragons expansion. It was like officially licensed by D&D, and it's basically like you go on a D&D RPG adventure with like a GM talking to you and doing voices for the characters, and it has like a storyline. It's like a full self-contained adventure, and it's like a couple dollars to play it. So Minecraft continues to do super cool weird stuff. So I've not played the Nerf map, but I did see it in the marketplace, and I
it's probably better than Nerf Legends.
It definitely. I have not even played it, and I can guarantee you it's better than Earth Legends. So yeah.
Nice. That's awesome, Debbie. Thank you very much for the super chat. I want to welcome Ken James to the channel. Ken, thank you very much for joining.
Ken.
Appreciate you. And Shoosh.
Shoosh. €2. Joined late today. Is Candy Corn a sponsor yet?
This is a
Candy
true
corn and
story.
black licorice.
Does Candy Corn have a company?
Yeah,
No.
Brox.
No.
Is it Brox or
Brox?
Brax? How's it pronounced?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Brox.
but
Yeah, I
Brox.
think you're right. Yeah.
Do they? Because it's not like one of the major candy makers, right? It's like they
Brox.
just make
How
candy corn.
dare you talk down on Brox, sir?
I've never heard of Brox. What is that?
Of course you
It's
haven't.
candy. Corn.
Yeah, they're the ones with like the gumdrops.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They make a lot of
gumdrops.
garbage.
They make a lot of
Question
just-
mark over my head. Have I not? I mean, like I'm not crazy. They're not like Nestle or Hershey's.
No,
right?
they're
Like,
not a
those
big
are-
gigantic
okay,
conglomerate
all
like that. No.
right, okay.
Um,
I was wondering if there was just a knowledge gap where everybody knows about Brox, the candy supplier.
They're the ones- it's like a pink logo, right? Yeah.
I don't think I've seen it.
Now,
That's crazy.
were they
Go
the
to the
ones that had,
CVS.
like, you know, the
I don't
old
think
days?
they have it in my CVS. Maybe this is a regional thing.
CVS. Oh, it's on at grocery stores. Like you would go there and they would have like the one where you can get like whatever kind. They had like tons of different like candies, like peppermints and coconut little bites and some weird other crap. And you would put like a quarter in, and then you could just take like 2 or 3 pieces of candy instead of buying, or you can buy it in bulk, like by the pound.
Travis looks utterly confused.
I have never heard of this. This is bizarre to me.
They don't buy
Do you
processed
guys live in a
sugar.
different country?
It
I'm
literally
so
it was a little tin box, like right next to all this stuff. You just put like a nickel in. It's like,
To
yeah, take a
be
piece of
fair,
it.
Travis, you're in San Francisco. You kind of live in a different country.
Yeah, no, I'm the one who lives in the different country for sure. Is candy legal here? I don't even know.
They don't scoop it. I don't believe. Not the same way.
I think
but I
they
think,
have
candy corn. That would be wrong.
I went to the supermarket last night and picked up some stuff from the supermarket. I meant to get a bag of candy corn to have with me on the show today, and I forgot.
I did see candy corn in the store down the street, and I thought for a brief moment what my life would be like if I were willing to spend money on it. But I just can't. I can't buy if I'm going to buy that much wax. It's for a candle. I'm going to make a candle out of it.
Look, you could have a few bites and then make a candle out of the rest. That's why candy corn is so brilliant. That's why it won our poll last week, and it's good stuff.
I can't believe it won a poll.
Dude,
it was is candy corn good, and it won by a lot, Hogue. And I'm convinced, based on the poll results of that and other polls like the Twizzlers thing, that the average age of our viewer must be like 67. It has to be with those
red vines
those
are better
poll
than
results.
Twizzlers. I'll stand behind that. No. Candy corn good isn't fair because what is the alternative? Nothing. Are you on stranded on an island?
What about the pumpkin ones?
Oh, yes.
But everybody knows candy corn isn't good though. You know what I mean?
Pumpkin ones.
Hey, I'm shouting out Willow, vintage Willow. Got a bag after the show last week.
That's crazy.
Jesus.
Listen, I eat everything. Everything. I'm not eating candy corn. There's no way. No way.
But he likes Twizzlers, so
I like Twizzlers. So
which is just wax too. It's not even licorice. Like, come on.
And I'm with you. I don't like both of them. I'm consistent in my views here, guys. I'm the one.
The pumpkins are the best though, to your point. Like if you like candy corn, just step it up and go full pumpkin.
Yeah. It's twice the size.
What is this? It's just
never go full pumpkin.
Never go full pumpkin.
It's a pumpkin. It's a candy corn that's all orange in the shape of a pumpkin, Travis. It's just basically the same shit
with a green little stem on the top.
With a little green stem on the top. Terrible.
Delicious.
Yeah.
Shush says I'm never coming to the US. To be fair, where you are, Shush probably has better chocolate and candy than the US anyway. So don't feel,
Cinderella. You ever see Cinderella went full pumpkin? Walked away empty-handed.
At least we all agree on one thing, like carnival peanuts. Terrible, right? Are we all on the agreement there? Okay.
Yeah, come on.
Right.
It's
styrofoam.
styrofoam.
Something that we can all get together on. And
okay. Well, we didn't hear Hogan Travis answer, so I'm concerned.
I think he should
answer about what? I don't like candy corn.
Carnival peanuts. The carnival peanuts.
Oh yeah.
Those are okay.
Circus peanuts. Yeah, that's what they're
You're
called.
talking about the orange foamy ones? It's
Yeah.
like putting a piece of styrofoam in your mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's mallow adjacent. I'm a fan of the mallow.
The circus peanuts are like space ice cream.
yeah, they're okay.
Good Lord.
I'll eat them.
I don't even know what's going on here.
By the way, you absolutely have Brock's in San Francisco, Ty Guy. There you
Do
go.
we?
Get to your local Brock's.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess maybe this isn't my area of expertise. Guys, here's the thing. I try to talk about the things I'm an expert on because I like to look smart. And there's a lot of categories I just have to be quiet about. Like when he's talking about Mahomes, McKinnon, and Juju. I don't know who those people are. I honestly, you could tell me that they were part of like a Olympic swim team, and I'd be like, okay, I believe you.
You don't know Juju Smith-Schuster?
I don't understand any of the words in that sentence. Completely blank face here, guys.
Well, one of my receivers is named Amon-Ra, so
Yeah.
Nice.
Amon-Ra, that sounds like a Yu-Gi-Oh card.
He's in the remake of The Mummy as well.
Amon-Ra will send you to the Shadow Realm.
Amon-Ra St. Brown.
And we have his brother, Equinemius St. Brown, on the Bears.
We're talking about a new gauntlet, apparently. I don't know.
Yeah. Hey, man, I'm just saying.
All right.
Amon-Ra is great. Everybody else, the Bears are not a good football team this year.
No, they are not. I was so
Amon-Ra,
mad.
great trap
mad.
card. That's all I'm saying. If you play that thing in defense mode, ooh, baby, let me tell you.
Oh, my God. By the way, Abby Smith says, if you've had a wrapped peppermint, you've had Brock's. Brock's makes those.
Yeah.
Never had one.
So-
What is a
Get
wrapped
out of
peppermint?
my face.
You have had one. I
What
guarantee
is
every
a-
what is a-
American
what does it
has had a
mean?
wrapped peppermint.
What does it mean to be a wrapped peppermint?
It's a peppermint in a wrapper, Travis.
a wrapper, it's like-
Okay, yeah, I've had one of those.
Yeah, everyone has had one.
Oh, so they make old people candy.
Yes. Like
Like,
butterscotch.
do they make those
Yes.
those
Hey.
drop things?
I
Or
will
Yeah,
defend. I will
Werther's?
defend butterscotch till the death. Don't
Yes.
come after
Really?
butterscotch.
Dude, you just have bad taste. This is like such a I knew you were British, like in the ancestry, like
Oh God! All right. We're moving on. We're on food. Bitcast again. Foodcast.
I like food.
All right. I know Foodcast is fun, but let's jump over to
still on
another
almond raw.
topic.
Sorry, I don't even know who that is, but
Oh, damn it, Shoosh! I'm trying to move on, Shoosh.
Halloween big cast idea: confectionery themed costumes.
It's not a
Ames
bad
as
idea,
a
actually.
candy corn.
I'll be a candy corn.
No,
I can do it.
you'd make a good candy corn
Yeah, I mean, I
don't
taste good.
celebrate
Why not?
Halloween.
because you're milk toast and flavorless. Boom, wrecked.
Boom, roasted. Oh man, Shoosh, thank you very much. Too funny. Taking us.
See,
off-
look, I'm
off
not the
board.
only one who didn't understand wrapped mint. For some reason, I was like, "What is it wrapped in? Like chocolate?" Like I was like confused about the wrapping part.
That'd be
I get
good
it.
too.
Do they make
All right.
Werthers? They just make all the old people hard candies. Is that
No,
what they're
Werthers are
brand?
good too, though.
Jesus, my God, dude, what is wrong with you, Ames?
Oh man! All right. Moving on.
You look good for your age. 87.
Thanks, sir. Thank you. Yeah, it's all this excellent dietary decisions
Yeah.
apparently I'm making. Naughty Dog. We're going to talk about Naughty Dog because we talked about
Really?
PlayStation. We talked about Naughty Dog. Apparently, reports are that they're laying off minimum 25 devs, and that The Last of Us multiplayer that we've all been talking about and waiting for years, that they like 3 months ago provided, what was it, concept art for as a tease, has now been canceled and or put on ice. So there's mixed reports here. Some are saying it's basically stopped being working on and they're laying people off. Other reports are saying it's been canceled entirely. Regardless,
We reported or we talked about this a few months ago, right? When the apparent rumor was that Bungie rolled in and was like, "What the hell are you doing?"
Yeah.
yes, exactly.
Yep.
So I guess the update is they've made some changes, but this one seems weird because simultaneously this week we got an actual listing on a job posting basically talking about Last of Us 2 remake or remaster.
Siri, what does creative bankruptcy look like?
It looks like Naughty Dog, Mr. Hogue. But no, in all seriousness, Naughty Dog is.
Today I learned Ains has a very interesting idea of what Siri
I
sounds
I
like.
use a terrible Siri
Yeah. Was that,
AI.
was that Father from Aliens? That was very.
That's a great reference, by the way. But yeah, what the hell's going on? Like, Naughty Dog is like a premier dev, like in the industry, right? Their talent, I don't think, is in question. They've made
The word for it.
Their multiplayer talent is very much in question.
I didn't say multiplayer talent. I said
yeah,
talent.
I'm just saying, but this is for multiplayer. So I'm
But-
like,
if we look, right, and Last of Us 2, I'm not getting into the Last of Us 2 debate again. I'm not a fan of Last of Us 2, despite its technical proficiencies. But regardless of that, right, celebrated game, et cetera, sells really well. But we're saying now that Naughty Dog in the last decade and more, because we don't know what they're apparently working on, has done Last of Us 2, Last of Us Remake, and Last of Us 2 Remake. Which and a TV show, which seems kind of crazy, especially for a company that has a dev studio that has such a history with making other types of enjoyable experiences. So
They're under new management. They're the last of
also
us
true.
studio now.
That is also true. I don't know about this one, guys. I think that we talked, to your point, Hogue, a few months ago about the rumors that Bungie had come in and, PlayStation was looking at Bungie to help them with their live service kind of multiplayer roadmap. If this is yet another kind of casualty of that discussion or decision making, it certainly doesn't instill a lot of confidence in whatever direction they had chosen to go in the past couple years. This makes me even more concerned around what's actually going to be developed or delivered, I should say, in the next year or two.
Well, I mean, I think you've got
why are you laughing?
You've got great comparison points because Naughty Dog and Insomniac are kind of the two pillars of Sony internal right now, and Insomniac is churning out games, and Naughty Dog has basically made nothing new for a generation at this point. I mean, I really do think I made the joke, but I really do. Last of Us 2 is years before the PlayStation 5 launched.
It's not that old, is it?
It's before PlayStation 5 launched, so 2020, yeah.
2020, early 2020. Okay.
I think it's May.
3.5 years almost. Okay. Fair enough. Continue, sir.
But, finding out that their next project is probably a remake of their most recent project that was the most recent new project is just insane. Naughty Dog is going to go a whole generation without making anything new. No new experiences for anybody that has followed PlayStation games or the PlayStation brand. And honestly, I don't think Uncharted 4 was a great step for that brand either. So Naughty Dog's been in my doghouse, so to speak, for a long time. They haven't made much of interest to me for a while now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I share his dislike of Uncharted 4 because I miss when that game was about being fun and over the top, and 4 kind of made it sad.
Just bloated. I liked aspects of it, but yeah, I get it.
Yeah. But I think a lot of people liked The Last of Us 2, and I think that shows that they still got some chops, even if you disagree with the direction of their story and some of the other stuff, as I certainly did.
Technically, it's a brilliant game.
It is technically wonderful. It is a god-awful writing.
But I will say this. I mean, he feels strongly about this, y'all. But I will say this.
But
on the multiplayer side, Naughty Dog has always been trash tier. Like very just they've had trouble. Name one multiplayer game or multiplayer experience they've created that you enjoy.
Way of the Warrior.
What the hell?
Wow. No one has ever said that.
No, it's a hot take.
I like my 3DO and I like full motion video. What are you going to do?
I'm with you there.
Yes,
Last of Us, the factions mode, or it was factions, right? Of Last of Us. No, I'm not saying like it was brilliant or anything. I'm not saying that. I'm saying, bro, it did have a small audience that enjoyed that, but I think generally speaking, to your point, yes.
Yeah, this is like, and by the way, I don't mean this. I was being hyperbolic when I said trash tier. They're not actually that bad. But that said, they're not known for multiplayer. and I don't
True.
think they're particularly good at it. So when you hear that a multiplayer expansion you were never interested has been canceled, it's a little bit like hearing, you know, someone you went to college with that you didn't really get along with is like falling on hard times, and you're like, oh, too bad. Anyway, moving on. You know what I mean? Like, what else? What else is new? You know, what's going on?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know. We've talked about this a lot. I just feel like in a really weird spot. We got Spider-Man, to Hoag's point, Insomniac firing on all cylinders. We got Spider-Man in what, a week and a half, and I'm not interested, as I've said many times, but I have zero doubt that that game is going to be excellent, sell really well, et cetera, et cetera.
From Insomniac, you got Miles Morales, Rift Apart, and Spider-Man 2 in the same time period between Last of Us Part 2 and Last of Us Part 2 again.
To be fair, though.
And by all accounts, Wolverine will probably be out probably before Naughty Dog delivers another game.
Yeah, to be fair, Insomniac is known for pumping out games way faster than most studios, which has always been crazy about them.
But they're quality games normally. Like from a technical aspect, they're usually quality games, and
it's like they don't sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah. They my point is that studio
well played,
culture, studio culture matters, right? And Naughty Dog has a specific culture of like their games taking a long time, and they put a lot of heart into it, and some people think they make the best games out there, and
those
I'm
people
sure
are wrong.
Well, I mean, they're not my favorite games, so I'm not going to fight you too hard on it. But Uncharted 2,
I would say that we don't. Uncharted 2 is one of the best games. I would say that we don't really have a notion of what a Naughty Dog looks like in terms of productivity or pipeline since the management shift. And if they're just going to make remakes of Last of Us, it's going to be a pretty sad end to a pretty well-known studio.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I mean, all I'm saying is that it's not unlike Naughty Dog historically to take a long time to put out their games, and for those games to, when they come out, be celebrated as like really good games. And so, but giving them the benefit of the doubt, they've got a lot of talented devs, regardless of what their leadership structure looks like. I think, I'm going to come on this the same way I came at Bethesda when people were saying that Starfield looked like it was not going to be good, which is that studio's got a high pedigree, and I'm willing to wait and see what they actually put out before I judge it. But multiplayer games, I don't know why they were wasting their time on that. I don't think that that's what they do. I don't even know if that's what they want to do.
Money, Travis. It's money.
I mean, all I'm saying is I'm not crying over it, and I don't think it really says anything about the studio except for that they're still not good at multiplayer, which isn't exactly a headline. So
I think the crying about it is the resources and time and production capability put into a failed effort.
That's fair, yeah. And I'm saying I'm glad. I'm more glad that it dies on the cutting room floor than comes out and dies eventually anyway. Because I mean, who was gonna play that game?
Nobody.
I think
a lot of people would have played it at the start. How it would.
I think a lot of people would have played it at the start, but it's the perfect crossover of all Naughty Dog fans. Like 95% of those guys love single player experiences and actively don't like multiplayer games. And then the people who do like multiplayer games aren't looking for Naughty Dog to make one. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like if I were on their business team and they propose this idea, I would be like, that sounds like an incredibly expensive way to not make any money. Like, I just don't know. It just seems like a bad idea. Like from concept, it seems like a bad idea. It's not playing to their strengths. It's speaking to an audience that doesn't really play their games. But
Travis, you can't pick and choose here, right? You're the one that always tells me the developers need to be able to make what they want to make, right? Because this is,
I agree. 100%.
This is my argument with BioWare should never have made Anthem, right? Sorry, Ains.
Oh.
Because it's not their skills. It's not that you wouldn't take your entire company that makes Naughty Dog level third-person action adventures and say, let's make a multiplayer game and make it its own unit and do all these things. It's a poor use of resources. But if the developers wanted to do that, then this is the kind of thing that you deal with.
I'm with you. Yeah, I'm all for creative freedom and devs doing new things that they haven't done before. We got grounded because Obsidian decided to make a survival multiplayer game, which is unlike anything they've done before. So 100%. It's just this one didn't work out, so I kind of feel vindicated going, really, when they announced it initially. It also, my biggest problem with it, Hoag, is that if they wanted to make a multiplayer game, wouldn't they use a different IP? Like really
I
the
mean-
use of an existing IP to do something that doesn't really fit with that vibe or setting is kind of what bothers me about the idea.
I mean, I view Neil Druckmann's love of The Last of Us as roughly equivalent to Dave Filoni's love of Ahsoka at this point, right? Like, I mean, I don't think he can get out of his own way of using this game that he made. I don't think he understands The Last of Us Part 1, which is really one of the shames of video gaming right now. But I think that's how you arrive at, let's slap an IP on it, because it grew out of scope, right? They were supposed to do factions with their remaster originally, and then it became its own thing.
Yep.
You've already got the IP attached, and then they just failed, right? I mean, if I'm going to sit here and talk to you for months about how I'm not sure that Microsoft as the combined entity and Phil Spencer and their management team is actually set up to get the pipeline of games that resource level should get out, I can't not sit here and tell you I'm not sure that Neil Druckmann is the right person to run the ship at Naughty Dog when they haven't made anything of note for a long, long time now.
It feels like to me, I mean, I know he's the studio lead and everything, but it's just
he took
you
over.
get that feeling. Yeah, he kind of took over, but it still feels like there's kind of too many hands in the cookie jar, or that, you know, he's got that really kind of pretentious, like, I'm gonna, you know, this is my baby, this is my thing, you know, and you know this, but also somebody that can't make a decision at the same time, you know, and like, you know, I gotta change this or do this. I have no idea what's going on over there.
Well, I'm not going to tell you that creatively running a subsidiary is easy, right? You've got Sony to answer to. Jim Ryan was certainly involved in what they decided to do at the Naughty Dog level. Neil Druckmann ostensibly runs that studio. He seems absolutely reluctant to get away from The Last of Us as a property at all. And I don't think the HBO show helped video gamers out there in the world, because he was, to the extent that he wanted to make more Last of Us stuff, he was given the keys to the kingdom with the way that show was received. And I think probably not justifiably, but if you liked it, good for you.
Well, and Last of Us 3 already kind of, they're working on it, right? But like, we know that. So it's like, yeah. I would agree with you about Druckmann as well. Yeah, they've talked about that. That's been mentioned. Last of Us 3.
And yeah, I mean, they've told us they're working on it, but
well, yeah, they were working on factions too.
Time
but
to get more fingers.
yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just, I sit here and I continue to be curious about what's coming for PlayStation. I think this is a weird time for them, because I have not felt this confused about their roadmap in a very long time, probably since even the start of the PS3 era, which was weird from a delivery and launch perspective. At least I knew what they were aimed at content wise. Whereas I don't feel like I have any idea of that right now. And then
I already tweeted about it
too, which you spoke well about the other week, Travis, and it's like it just gets more confusing.
I already told you what we're working on at Sony. I mean, it's Sly Cooper.
Sly Cooper's fine.
It's all Sly Cooper games
and Resistance. Studio. I thought we agreed.
Naughty Dog's making a really, really depressing take on Sly Cooper that I think you guys are really going to enjoy. Yeah.
Are they going to slow down the musical theme?
It's live action.
The musical theme is slowed down. It's kind of about like the consequences of theft. Like what is, you know, who gets affected by the, you know, it's like Sly Cooper does a heist and then afterward you get to see the family.
The downstream effects.
Yeah. The family that's hurt by that theft. And then you get to play as like, you know, a begrudged diamond owner.
Play as the turtle?
Yeah, absolutely.
You need to play as Bentley.
Yeah, no, you need to play as the turtle because that's the pace we're going for.
Wheelchair.
Yeah.
And some of it is live action, like Wing Commander, I heard.
For sure. Yeah. It's gonna be pretty
I'm
good.
in.
I think you're really gonna like Sony under Travis's leadership. I mean, we're swinging for the fences, dude.
No, but I mean, we joke, but you know, the CEO of the brand, I know that they separate them by like their units. The CEO of the brand leaving with no pipeline at all announced for future product development is not great. I wasn't here to talk about it, but it's not. There's a lot of question marks around all of that. Ordinarily, you'd right the ship, you'd set the furniture in place, and you'd be ready to leave. Now, I think he got sideswiped a little by Bloomberg, but
yeah. I think the argument that we made was, well, he did announce a new direction for the company, but my criticism last week was that he didn't stay around to to validate that was the right decision. And so we won't really know if he was a success or a failure as a CEO until we find out what those 10 to 15 live service games are and if that strategy works at all, because they've talked a lot about what they're working on. We haven't seen any of it yet, but I would be very surprised if in the next couple of years we don't get a whole bunch of live service announcements from PlayStation. We know exactly what they've been working on, and that'll either be awesome and the new direction for Sony where they've got lots of interesting live service games, or it'll be super disappointing. And then people will look at Jim Ryan and go, wow, he was the one who set up this avalanche. And I agree that him leaving is maybe speaks to how things are looking. I don't really know, but it's interesting.
I don't think the pipeline is coming together. I think you can see that from outside. And I think the business choices that Sony has made on the PlayStation side are questionable for at least a year now. Right? We talked about the PSVR 2 here, and I said that it was over-engineered and it came out with no market to speak of. And then now apparently no strategy to actually make that attractive to people.
Which is crazy. Yeah. Crazy.
So, I mean, like, it does appear that the ship has been perhaps captainless for a time already. And then you got Sony just absolutely attacking the Microsoft Activision deal in an unexpected way towards the end of last year, which maybe bought them a little time, but basically looked idiotic for most of us and certainly didn't engender any goodwill towards the people that were following that story too closely, I don't think. And so they made a number of interesting choices is what I'm saying. And so, yeah, usually when your CEO starts acting like maybe you need to put him in the retirement home for CEOs, it makes sense for them to leave, but we have absolutely no optics. And if I'm at Sony, one of the things that I want to do is have some kind of event that says, hey, PlayStation is still the place to be for the best games, right? Like you want to make that clear to folks, because as it stands right now, I don't know what the heck I'm playing on my PlayStation in the near future.
Call of Duty for the next 10 years.
There you go.
Call of Duty. Speaking of, I didn't get to talk about it, but I did get into the beta this weekend, but I haven't played it yet. So I was hoping to be able to talk about it today.
I wasn't even done with the notes.
Oh, did you play it?
Oh, no, I have not played the Call of Duty beta. That doesn't sound like me at all. No, I wanted to have a little section on Resurrections, because the other thing I would have talked about last week was how much I love Cyberpunk 2.0. And
yes, I did mention it for you, but go ahead.
As it happens, this last week also featured another Resurrection that was a little bit unexpected, and I've been playing for the last couple of days Redfall. Anybody remember Redfall?
Let's go.
I think I blocked out that part of my memory.
Do you want to bite back, Travis? No?
I didn't love Redfall, but there's something there. And like I said, when I reviewed it, and I reviewed it on PC, remember? And see, this is the reaction you get from people who haven't played it, which is annoying, right? This is the annoyance, is that people judge a game that they don't even play.
Just for you.
Have you played it, Dan? Do I need to show you my clip?
Not. I've never
okay.
Listen, I was.
I'll refer to you I'll refer you to the short on Season Gaming's channel.
I'm just playing around you.
So I'm playing Redfall because, quite frankly, I think it probably should have come out now when they could get to 60 frames, and October is a better month for it.
Agree.
But I like that vibe. I like spooky vibes, and I think I mentioned earlier that Redfall is a better vibe for me than Deathloop, certainly. But
you tried to say Deathloop, and it happened.
Yeah, no, the T came back. Like, no, don't say Deathloop.
Yeah, he had indigestion just mentioning Deathloop.
I don't love Deathloop, folks. I do love Arcane, but I don't love Deathloop. And sorry, Dan?
What else came with the update? Like you said it.
A lot. It's a big update.
Yeah,
update. It was like AI improvements, character improvements, pathing, a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, I think the stuff you could lay at Redfall's feet when it originally came out was the 30 frames felt awful, and for the most part, it felt like you were playing an old full motion video light gun game, because they would just stand up and shoot at you, and then you would just kind of pluck at them like you're playing targets. And they move around now. It's not super great. It's not anything that you would like write home about, as it were, but it is fun. And I think Redfall at 60 frames per second in the current patch is more fun than a lot of games that I've played this year. So it's nice to see these resurrections. Cyberpunk 2.0 is my favorite game save ever, and that includes Final Fantasy 14, because Cyberpunk 1.0 and 1.5, which is kind of functional Cyberpunk 1, I didn't like as a game, right? I think you've heard me sit here and say I was bored by it. The interactions weren't great. And so it was a surprise to me when we went into 2.0 that the stuff that they changed, they fundamentally changed what game they made, right? So they went to a timed health and timed grenade model that only allows you to use certain things a certain amount of times before you upgrade them. And it creates this much more engaging gameplay loop that saves the whole game, right? Now you're looking forward to engagements. You're looking forward to figuring out how to get into that warehouse and save that person. I still don't think the storytelling is as strong in those bits, what I call the blue side quest bits, because they show up in blue on your map, as they are in Witcher. But
they're not.
It's fun to play now in a way that it wasn't before. And I am just totally immersed in Cyberpunk 2.0 in a way that I never was before. And Phantom Liberty is like CDPR saying, you know what people really loved about Cyberpunk was this kind of cinematic engagement and huge missions and giant set pieces. And Phantom Liberty just says, yeah, let's just do that. It's just a giant movie.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, Hogue. I was just going to say, how far into actual Phantom Liberty are you?
Let me see how I can describe this. So obviously I haven't beaten it yet, so I can't kind of just do it in reverse, but I am 3 Idris Elba missions in.
Did you get through the, how do I say this with no spoilers?
I've gone to a party.
Yeah. Did you finish that whole thing?
Mm-mm. I'm in the middle of the party sequence.
Okay. Then you got a little way to go. You got a little bit to go yet.
But Phantom Liberty is clearly big and expensive, and Dogtown's fun to explore and does feel like its own place. And so, yeah, Cyberpunk 2.0 is going to be one of my favorite experiences of the year.
Good on you. Good on you. I agree with you, but then I've stand Cyberpunk for a while. In fact, one of the news things that came out, CDPR announced this week that Cyberpunk 2077, the core game, has passed 25 million sales, and Phantom Liberty in the first week passed 3 million sales as well. And it is actually Cyberpunk, the game, is selling at a faster rate than Witcher 3 did, which is kind of crazy. Now, Witcher 3 has continued to sell extremely well for years on end. So I don't know if Cyberpunk will ever
back then
actually catch up to it. Yeah, like I know Witcher 3 sold like better in like 2020 than it did in the 4 years prior. Like it just kept accelerating. So we'll see how Cyberpunk does long term, but 25 million sales regardless is super impressive. So, and 3 million in a week for Phantom Liberty.
No, and it's a great foundation. I mean, it was not something I expected to feel, but as you get to the end of Phantom Liberty or Cyberpunk 2.0, I was thinking, oh, it's a bummer that they can't do more expansions with this. They can't do more of what they had planned with this because it's a lot of fun to play. And Phantom Liberty makes you wish that this had been the version that came out when it originally launched.
I want to see.
I'll second that.
I hope. Yeah, I mean,
I'm in the same boat as Vogue. I know you liked it, Ains, but it really didn't click with me. And even the 1.5 I thought was good, but not like great. But 2.0, I've been replaying it, even though I just finished playing this game like a couple months ago because I beat it right before Phantom Liberty, thinking that I would jump straight into Phantom Liberty, and now I'm replaying it again because there's so many changes. And something is definitely different with this one. There's still stuff I don't like walking around NPCs in the world feels really weird. No, they're all crazy people, especially the children. I tweeted about Ains. The children scare me.
The mini adults.
Really supposed to be crazy.
It looks like they shrunk an adult and they're walking around with 30 years of trauma on their face, and you're like, dude, what is up with these children? Just take the children out, man. It's not even realistic. I live in a city. I've never seen a kid in San Francisco. I don't think there's children here at all.
You guys can't afford to have children in that city, and
that's actually true. When people have kids, they move out, and I'm so happy for it because I've never had a movie or a restaurant interrupted by a child screaming.
The setting for this game is set. It's an old tabletop game. Like it is based in that.
You're
universe.
Telling me that?
No, but I'm saying people act like this is a game that's doing weird things, or that it's miserable, or that it's drab, or I hear all these weird complaints. It's like that's the setting of the game.
Let me school you a little bit. Cyberpunk 2077 is in the Cyberpunk Red universe, which is actually different from the tabletop universe. They have separate canons, and therefore you could make creative liberties to make certain adjustments, as they did in various different areas to make it more of a video game and less of a tabletop RPG. And therefore, I don't know if it's a perfect excuse because they can
One,
make
Is Red just
that wasn't schooling at all. All you said was they could have done things differently.
Well, I'm schooling you on the fact that they're
How is that schooling?
you said that it's the part of the tabletop universe. It is related, but technically it's a separate canon.
It has a set canon and setting, is what I'm saying. They did like CDPR didn't create it from scratch. It has things that they're working with it.
They didn't create it from scratch, but they created a separate
just like
canon
Witcher
for it. It's set. Yeah. Witcher follows a lot more closely along with the book canon because the tabletop RPG is one setting. And the reason you know this is because they actually released a separate version of the tabletop RPG called Cyberpunk Red that is the video game version of Cyberpunk. And so you can actually buy different versions of the setting. And so it's sort of like, D&D with Baldur's Gate 3. Like there's a setting in Dungeons and Dragons, but Dungeons and Dragons also has the ability to basically be different settings for whatever purpose you want to use it for.
And Forgotten Realms, right?
Yeah, it's all Forgotten Realms, different multiverse options. And so I think I don't know. I mean, look, ultimately I'm arguing was it a good idea to include children, which is a super stupid argument, but my point is that they had creative agency to make that world kind of whatever they wanted. So
of course. George Acosta says, what's next for CD Projekt? So their roadmap is really clear. They've actually been very transparent about that. They are making 2 new Witcher games, actually, and they are making another Cyberpunk game. So they have some other things on there, but you can find their roadmap online. We might have it on the site, actually, but if you Google it, you can find their whole roadmap of delivery. What was I going to say? Last thing about, damn it. Cyberpunk. They announced this week, funny enough, there you go. They announced that they're doing a live action project. No screenwriter details yet other than it's set in the world of 2077, to your point, Travis. But the production company that did the TV series Mr. Robot and did the movie The Revenant is the production company they're going with to make this. So we'll see how this turns out long term.
Rami Malek in CD Projekt Red Cyberpunk. There you go, folks. You heard it here first.
Nice. I mean, I'm excited for that, but they also announced Witcher, which we've seen neither hide nor hair of. So I'm guessing that this is
it's gonna take them a while.
2030. It'll be 2077.
CD Projekt Red didn't do Witcher though.
They announced the new Witcher game.
Oh, Witcher game. 4. I thought you meant Netflix Witcher. I'm sorry.
No,
I was talking live action. Yeah. And then Edge Runners, that was good too. So
it's a good show. I did watch that. Actually, that's actually the show that made me want to give Cyberpunk another try. Like, I think I'm gonna hop back in.
Yeah, a little too gratuitous for me, but we've talked about that before.
It's pretty gratuitous. It is. It is an intense show. I tried to watch it like casually, and I was like, this show makes me sad. I think I'm not gonna watch this while I'm brushing my teeth before bed. You know what I mean? Like, it's not really a good.
Night City isn't the awesomest place to live.
No, definitely not.
It's the setting. That's what I'm talking about.
It is. Yeah, I mean, but it's actually Cyberpunk is also a genre. So Cyberpunk was the original incarnation of it, but since then there's lots of cyberpunk settings that are part of the cyberpunk genre but not part of the cyberpunk universe. And so I do think, to your point, Ains, there's a certain level of stuff you have to include for it to be cyberpunk. I would describe the cyberpunk genre as being high-tech, low life, right? There's lots of technology, but everybody's sad and that lives miserable lives. That's cyberpunk. And so there's lots of cyberpunk settings I enjoy.
I also like how it's essentially like the darkest part of the 80s mixed with future technology. It's kind of this weird mix of things.
It's what they thought the future was going to look like in Back to the Future 2.
Right. But dark. Yeah, exactly.
Cannon's Night City.
Exactly. Yeah, when they do the offshoot,
exactly. That's what I was thinking of.
Oh, yeah, exactly. The only last thing I want to touch on today is about we talked about layoffs with Naughty Dog earlier, but we talked about it more extensively last week when Hogue wasn't with us. But a couple more this week. So Naughty Dog, of course, we already touched on, but Telltale Games as well. So Telltale Games, who obviously have this tumultuous history in the past several years, they are laying off some of their
current Telltale is just a licensee of the Telltale name, right?
True. Yes. But their apparently Expanse did not perform as well as hoped. They're laying off some people, but they have said that their current production pipeline, including Wolf Among Us 2, is unaffected, is what they said. So, which is really what I'm waiting for. Wolf Among Us 2
up from question mark to question mark.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Well, Wolf
You
Among
summed it
Us
up.
2, I did see that some people involved with that studio were being like, I don't know if that game's gonna come out. So.
I don't know. I hope so, man.
I
That's
really
my
hope
favorite
it does.
Telltale experience.
Me too. Wolf Among Us is the best one, and I'm
so good.
We need to at least get a season 2, and then if they need to go bankrupt again, that they can do it or whatever.
Different company.
Well, you tell them that, Hogue. I was down at their office, and they're like, "We're back. We're Telltale," and I was like, "Whoa, you guys are."
Well, that's the idea of buying the IP, but it's still a different company. That's like the news articles that say Toys R Us is coming back. It's like that's not exactly what happened.
Yeah. Well,
Jeffrey never died in my heart.
It's a lot of the same people. It's a lot of the same culture, and they claim to. They are very much treating themselves like they're the same company.
I wish the Expanse had decided to tell more of a story.
Really? Did you finish it?
I got to part 4, and then I never downloaded part 5.
Damn.
Yikes.
I like the first episode. That's all I played.
Yeah, it's a shame. Anyway, I forgot to mention, if you continue with Redfall, let me know, Hope, because as I wrote in my review, the second half of that game and the stories it tells are actually noticeably better than the first, which is kind of silly. But I'm always curious to talk to people who actually got through the whole game because it is noticeable. So,
yep. I had it in my head that I had to get to Ains's legendary second half of Redfall.
Legendary is a very bold choice of word there. Calm down. But it's better than
I've
the
been
first
enjoying
time.
my time with Redfall the past couple days. So.
I've been waiting for the patch, and now
Travis hasn't finished it either. Don't let him give you crap.
I have not finished it, but I played 20 hours or something, 25 hours during the review period.
You didn't.
Yes, I did. I helped Destin through almost that entire game. Yeah. I really hated that game, but it was mostly the shooting mechanics. Like the shooting mechanics are just really subpar, especially for that studio.
They're not
I
great.
was very surprised. Yeah.
I mean, people I think don't realize that that's not really like Prey Arcane, right? Or Dishonored, or it's a lot of those people that were there when that game came out are gone. So now it's it's that was the one thing I had to kind of take back, because Prey is one of my favorite games of all time.
Prey's an all timer.
Yeah, and it was just I haven't played it, so I was waiting for the patch. That's what I said I was going to do, and now I'm going to play it. So I'm excited to try it out.
Is
it still on Game Pass?
Yes,
it's always
has to be, right? It's Bethesda, yeah.
Well, it doesn't have to be.
It doesn't have to be
in the other services, but it is.
Yeah. I haven't played out the patch either.
Though, by the way, is that it has to be? It seems to be Xbox's strategy.
Like I said, I played on PC and it ran, and that was never a problem with the game, which I know I did play it on Xbox at launch, just to see what the reviewers who reviewed it on Xbox were experiencing. It was night and day. I didn't last more than an hour on Xbox after playing it on PC originally. So I'm hoping that this is much closer, because it was fine. I never had any technical issues. It was super smooth, good frame rate, nice graphics.
All right, I'll give you that. I did play it on Xbox. It sucked.
Oh, it was bad. Yeah, noticeably. I was playing with Miles Dompier, who's been on the show a few times, and we were comically laughing because he was sending me screenshots from the Xbox version while I was playing on PC. I was like, dude, mine doesn't look like that at all. I don't know what's going on.
I like the clarification that you were comically lauing. Just to separate
comically laughing, not maniacally laughing.
No, it looks a lot better than it did. It plays a lot better. Cool. The areas are more populated.
Okay, good.
Guys, just hold on to your games. Wait just a little longer. Take your time, fix them. Why is every game now? What's that?
It's just super weird that the patch came out in October, because it's such a better October vibey game.
Yeah.
Seriously, we said that from the start.
So many games are launching with you were just
that's the new model, man.
Should have kept it for 6 more months. Should have kept it for 6 more months.
I think they were, because remember, it was originally announced for summer of 2022 last year, right? And I think the delay, they were just getting anxious about it. I don't know, but you do more harm than good releasing it in the state they did. You know?
Yeah, because
buy
there's
the
a whole
stuff.
group of people, probably including me, who are never going to give it a second chance because there's just too much other good stuff to play.
Yeah.
You only
Yeah.
get one shot
That's
with old
true.
Trav, with old Ty guy. Sorry, guys.
Yeah. I don't know. Got a couple super chats to catch up on. Oh,
It's hard. Also, it makes it really hard to review games when you release it, and then 6 months later, it's a completely different game. Just throwing that out there. Like, it really sucks to be a reviewer who's got a video on YouTube that's going to be there forever, and it's a review of a game that is so significantly different from the one that it became after you finished it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It bothers me personally.
What are you supposed to do though in that case? You know, I mean,
this is part of the review. You review a game at the time that it exists, the game that you played, and then you just have to kind of accept these days that no matter what, every game changes. Even games that you really like, they become something completely different down the road. Dude, I reviewed Fortnite. That game did not have a battle royale mode when I reviewed it. You know what I mean? Like, it was just it was a co-op fort building game, and now it's a battle royale. So this is the review. Look, I'll always think reviews have a very important place in the lexicon of gaming, but the model right now is really challenging because games constantly are changing and being updated, and it's really hard to pin a game down versus, you know, reviewing movies that never change unless, you know, it's Blade Runner and they come out with 4 different versions for some reason. But yeah,
unless you're Snyder.
Yeah, Snyder cut.
Yeah, and then even if it's not a live service game, you have all those games like this, right?
Every single one.
Technical issues, and yeah, it's just
Or one that I have to deal with that's really common is when you review a game and it's got severe performance issues, because you can't not comment on the fact that a game like hitches constantly and like hurts your eyes to play. But then, you know, you got to assume 3-4 months down the road, eventually they're going to fix it and it's a completely different game. And so it just makes it hard to review it.
Jedi Survivor. Good
Jedi Survivor is a great example of it. And so the policy at IGN has been you review the game at the state it is when it comes out, and then if people still care in a year and there's enough changes to where it could theoretically to get a different score, then maybe you review it again. But there is no perfect model. You know, the perfect model would be to do a separate review every time they change anything, but that's not feasible. And I also don't know how helpful it is to players anyway. So
that makes sense from a tech perspective, and I don't know that we see a lot of Cyberpunk 2.0s. But is there any notion of re-reviewing? It's a new design.
Yeah, my guess would be that it probably will happen. The 2 criteria that we evaluate is that enough has to have changed to where the score could be different, and then the second criteria is people still have to care by the time the new patch comes out. So I would say it probably meets both of those criteria, but for this one, Phantom Liberty, we did a separate review for Phantom Liberty anyway. So I would say that's probably the answer on that one. But if they had just done like a 2.0 that changed all this stuff and over a year had passed, my guess would be we'd probably be re-reviewing it. We've done that with No Man's Sky. I think No Man's Sky we reviewed 3 times. We reviewed it once every couple of years as it became a completely different game from launch. So
yeah,
because people still cared.
Yeah, so as an audience for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Got a couple of super chats to catch up on. Hit me, Dan.
Console Peasant. Go ahead, Travis. I don't know that you have this one.
Life is but a mirage.
Nice.
Travis's audition for your next Baghdad-based Assassin's Creed.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Just gonna be a guy running around the streets just yelling Mirage.
Thank you, Console Pheasant. Appreciate you. Older gamer here.
Older gamer with $10 Canadian. Thank you very much. I love The Last of Us and I love multiplayer games, but don't know if a Last of Us multiplayer game would have long-term appeal. Sony overall has been quiet in terms of first-party titles and future releases. Very much so.
Yeah.
Which maybe is a good thing. They could be surprising and delighting us. Who knows?
Yeah, literally, they could do a state of the play early next year and blow us away. We don't know, but the track record of the last couple years, I would say, certainly hasn't lent to that. Yeah, I'm pretty sure, Older Gamer, if I recall, I'm pretty sure you one of the ones that loved Last of Us 2 as well. So even saying about long-term appeal for a multiplayer game, yeah, I don't know. To Travis's point, it seemed like a kind of an odd choice to begin with. But yeah,
I think it was a terrible idea, but
yeah. Yep. Thank you for the super chat. As always, man, appreciate you. And Gamefire, thanks for re-upping your membership over on the SG side. Thank you very much. Nice. All right, boys. I think that's going to wrap it up. We were going to talk some Diablo 4 as well. We got some big news about Diablo 4 in terms of season 2. Yeah, Season of Blood.
I interviewed them this week. So
did you?
I can tell you. Yeah, I talked to their game design leadership about the new upcoming season and the changes that they're making to the sandbox and balancing, and they're finally putting gems in your crafting materials as it should have been at the start and stuff like that. So it was a good interview.
We'll never know.
Do you have an article or something going up on it?
I do. Yeah. The article's live already. And it includes quotes from the interview that we did with them and just news about what's going on with that game. But Season of Blood's looking good. They're making some serious changes. I asked them if they thought they shook the jello a little bit too hard when Diablo 4 launched. And, it's a tough balancing act. I would say Diablo 4 is in a pretty rough spot right now. I think one of the questions I asked them was about like interest in the game, because at the time Diablo 2 had more streamers streaming that game, and Path of Exile had like 10 times more streamers streaming that game than Diablo 4. And so I just asked them, like, what do you think that means? Did you shake the jello a little too aggressively, maybe hide the fun from some people who were trying to do some crazy build crafting? And turns out making a live service game is super hard. So I wish them best of luck, but Season of Blood does look good. And I think they are making some really smart changes to the meta and the loot game and the end game. The main thing we focused on was the fact that now the grind from level 50 to 100 is going to take 40% less time, because they are seriously improving the grind there. And I think that's going to be huge. They're also adding 5 new end game bosses, including one that is on par with the level 100 version of Lilith. They're doing some
and kind of runnables too, I think, right? Like they used to do with Diablo 2, where you can run and and
there's also like a summoning ritual to get the boss to show up that requires hours of like prep, where you have to get like
they had a series of resource collection things, right?
So I think there's some cool stuff there. It's a game I would definitely love to dive back into, and maybe I will do Season of Blood, but it's just been so tough to find time to
never stopped.
I know, that's great, man.
Diablo 4.
I just don't get to pick which games I play anymore. It kind of sucks, but I'm really excited about Diablo 4, and as always, I love talking to that team. They're still at it. They're plugging away. Nice. I'll tell you what. Say what you want about that game and whether it's in a good state or whatever, but their live service model is damn good. They've got 3
people
teams
cranking.
Cranking it out, constantly iterating, and they're doing all of that while working on a big expansion in the future that's going to continue the story post the main campaign. And they also have a team that's trying to be the custodians of the game and make big updates that go alongside seasons. So they're doing, their live service model is like here to play, and I think that's huge.
Is that why they divided it into a second live stream? They have another one on the 10th, right?
Yeah, they said they had too much to share in one stream.
Yep. Yeah, their live stream. I interviewed them before the live stream had happened, but I think they'd already recorded it. They're pre-recorded, or at least part of them are. Yeah, they knew how long it was going to be, so I assume it was pre-recorded. I did not watch the live stream because I had done the interview, so I already knew everything that was happening. But it was. They're crushing it. Their live service team is like, it's a reverse Halo Infinite, right? Like if they were unprepared, these are like over prepared. Yeah.
I'm not going to keep doing this with you.
Halo's taking praise, but I love the.
Hey, look, I love Halo Infinite. Love it.
In all seriousness, kills me. No. Their live service was bad on year 1. You keep like saying it's still bad. It's not still bad. Like you haven't even. When's the last time you played Halo?
No.
Answer the question. I don't want dances. Answer the question.
He's getting all opposing counsel on you.
Hold on.
Answer the question.
Hold on, sir. You do not need to play the game to know the status of their live service teams.
Well, obviously you don't know the status because you're misstating it. So I'm asking you when you would last experience it, so you know what you're talking about.
Okay. Well, then I'll ask you a follow-up question and see if you want to answer it. How is their?
You haven't answered my question yet.
That's my point. because asking leading questions to try to get an outcome you like is a dumb thing to
See,
do.
so we'll just stop because you can't answer the question, so it's fine.
Wait.
It's
Let
fine.
me answer with a question. How is their single player expansion coming along?
That was canceled like a year ago.
I rest my case.
What's that got to do with the multiplayer live service element?
I didn't say multiplayer. I said live service overall. I'm including their single player, which they did not plan for and then canceled.
Okay, so what have they released for multiplayer this year, Travis?
I assume that they've released a bunch of seasons.
You assume.
Yeah. But all I know is that they didn't come with the plan and their game fell apart, and now we don't get single player experiences because they didn't even hire a team to do that, and we're using contractors.
That
That's
is
crazy.
true.
For the record,
Yeah, so that's my point. Is that my point is that they didn't show up with the
entire delivery of content, though.
Yeah, that's fine, but they didn't show up with their game with a plan to support it in the future, and now we don't get to see how Halo Infinite ends. That sucks.
Oh, I mean,
maybe the next game.
Yeah, I hope you're right, but my point is they're a very good case alongside like Anthem of like not being ready for a pipeline.
Yeah.
Sorry.
What'd you say, Ho?
Oh, I said I think we do get to see how it ends. I think we already did. It ended.
Ooh. Yeah, because I was very excited for Halo Infinite to be a part of my life for a long time, but it's like they're a great example of just not being ready for the pipeline, and I think that it sucks because I love that game. I would like to play it more.
This is what I said when we talked about it last year, which is that it didn't seem ready to tell a story at all. And you said, well, they're gonna update it, and it never did.
Well,
what do you mean?
In my defense,
ready to tell a story. What?
The Halo
doesn't like the base story.
Is garbage.
No,
come on.
No, just disagree. Just disagree, man. It's just not.
Halo Infinite does not remotely come close to the storytelling that the Halo series has traditionally enjoyed.
We could take that offline, but I disagree entirely. And you're talking to a guy who lives and breathes Halo.
Yeah. I really the thing that disappoints me, because it seems like Hogue was going to be disappointed even if they nailed the live service because he didn't like the premise they were selling. But my disappointment is that I love Halo Infinite and I immediately saw the potential, and to me it was one of the best foundations a live service game has ever had, and I was so excited for the future. And then I find out that they didn't have live service teams in place on multiplayer or single player, which is why multiplayer took so long to ramp, and then single player completely fell off the map. And that was like heartbreaking because I was rooting for that game to prove Hogue how wrong he was about the base game, right? And then the live service. I mean, this is the same story with the PSVR 2, right? Hogue was like, Sony's going to screw this over, and I was on the being charitable to Sony. I think they have a plan. I think they're going to come out with killer software, and it turns out they had no software plan for PSVR 2, and now I look like I was wrong, even though I think in theory I was. I looked
like I was wrong. I mean, like you absolutely were wrong on the future of Halo and the future of the PSVR 2, but I like your optimism. I don't want that to be squashed.
When we were debating about the PSVR thing, for example, I said that it was either going to fail or succeed based on if the software was there or not, and it turns out the software wasn't there. So I don't know if
the indicia of the over engineering and the price point and the market talk that we were getting suggested that they didn't have a good handle on what they even wanted to deliver. I mean, so you can read the room, which is what I did. I'm not.
Yeah. No, you read the room. That's fine. But if in my defense, if there had been killer software there, the fate of PSVR 2, I think, would be different. And so you were saying it was bad just from a premise perspective, and I was saying I think it's all going to come down to software. And if the software is there, this thing's going to be awesome. It turned out the software wasn't there. Same thing with Halo Infinite. Like, I loved Halo Infinite, but it was on the caveat of if they can nail live service, this is going to be amazing for years to come. And it turns out that they didn't nail the live service. So I just think it's,
out of the gate.
They
have now. So multiplayer live service in Halo, I would argue is as good, if not better, than almost every other multiplayer game out there right now. They've delivered over 40 maps this year.
I've not played a lot of it, but I've seen from the outside the regular updates and stuff, and it looks great. Yeah. But that's half of their live service model that they proposed.
I'm not disagreeing on the single player component. Yeah, but
it just sucks.
Yeah, it's a shame we're not getting that.
They introduced a new enemy faction, and we don't get the. I don't know if that's a spoiler at this point, but Yeah, just sucks that we
yeah.
don't get to really see how that ends, that story.
I mean, I talked about this.
You're
already
assuming
last
that
year.
though. Like
They
they're working on the
hand-waved-
next campaign, so it may continue the story. It just won't.
I hope
be
you're
an-
right. Yeah.
I mean, maybe, or they'll just hand wave it like they did the Cortana Rebellion. We dealt with that. Now gorillas.
It's a fair point.
That's not a fair point.
I'm still on.
He said
Team
now
Halo.
gorillas as if the brutes were not a huge part of the overall Halo universe this whole time.
Okay, but they did that transition did feel like a hand waving away of the stuff that they'd built up in 5.
Core game, yes. In
Because
the
I'm one of those
entire Halo
guys-
universe, no.
I'm one of those guys who feels like Halo 5 Guardians' story mode would have been
We've talked
vindicated
about this.
retroactively if Halo 6, if it got a sequel, if there was a Halo 6. The fact that they didn't, I think we'll never know the answer to that question. But yeah, I get where Hoke's coming from, but I disagree completely that the campaign wasn't awesome. It was one of the best shooter campaigns I've played in such a long time. I love that. I love that campaign, which is why I was so excited for the live service and why I feel so let down, because obviously I love Halo multiplayer, but I feel like you need the campaign to kind of ground you and keep you in that world. And I didn't get that. So I fell off the multiplayer pretty hard.
That's how
Also,
I
don't know if that's.
well.
I would disagree, but that's fine. It doesn't.
I mean,
matter.
that's just how I feel about multiplayer games. Is that I have to.
If
have
you
that
think about all,
campaign.
but if you think about all the games that release with a campaign and multiplayer, all the competitive Call of Duty, Gears, Halo, any game in that model, very few of them continue single player. You get your campaign,
Destiny.
and then
many
the
of them
Destiny
have
is
a
not in that
story with
model.
beginning, middle, and end.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. It's the same model. It's a live service game with
Destiny doesn't have
multiplayer
multiplayer.
mode.
It's got a joke, is what it has.
I mean that now you're being hyperbolic, but I mean it has the same model where they don't do a great job of supporting their multiplayer. I'll give you that, but they have the same model of people care about single player story and campaign, and people care about competitive, and they try to support both in the long term. I agree with you that
Destiny,
Halo is held.
Destiny's more
Halo
like
is held to a
MMO light. That's what Destiny is.
Right,
It's
because
not.
I mean,
that's
Halo's
what
not an
campaign
MMO at
is.
all, though.
Yeah, no, I
Exactly.
get that. But
That's my point.
But
So
what
what's
I
the
was
difference?
agreeing with Travis on is that those campaigns are useful to keep you in the world where you care about the arena shooting. And if you don't, it doesn't work. Why do I not like Halo Infinite? It isn't because I didn't enjoy certain aspects of the multiplayer. I played it a couple times and it's like, yep, that's cool. But there was no game there for me to latch on to.
So let me say this. What Halo continued this story for you previously that you love so much?
Well, I mean, the best Halo is Halo 2.
No. The question.
I-
What prior Halo game gave you a continuation of the story that kept you engaged?
I'll answer your question with
Halo
a
2.
question. What previous
Halo 2
game
had what story expansion after the campaign launch?
What previous
No,
Halo game
no,
was a live
again,
service game that promised
The answer
that?
to your question is that most of these games have Halo 2 is probably not the greatest example of this, a beginning, middle, and end. Right?
Which Halo 2 didn't have, by the way, because it got cut.
That's not a good answer. Yeah.
No.
Halo 2 had a story, though. It talked about the Arbiter and it talked about things that were interesting that kept you in the world. Halo Infinite just doesn't have a good story.
Well, that
Disagree.
Okay, so we're all the way back over here.
It's
You
not a
said to
finished
keep
story.
you said that what would have kept you engaged in Halo Infinite is if they continued the story post the campaign. And then you
Well,
said
that's
Halo
what
2.
Travis said. I said that it needs something in the campaign to keep me latched into that world. And certainly
Okay.
what they provided in the Infinite campaign is not that.
Okay, that's fair. For you, that's fair, yeah.
My argument was more just that, like, I love both parts of the Halo campaign, and it was such a blow to see that half of it, especially the half that set up like a promise for the future of it, not only wasn't happening, at least so far as we can tell, but also that they didn't even have a plan for it.
I agree with you.
It hit me so hard that I was just like, dude, I don't know if I can hop back in. That said, I mean, the multiplayer is still the best multiplayer shooter game you can play right now, like period.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
I completely agree. When we heard that the single player had been, kind of let down long term, I was devastated. I really wanted that. But
the fact that they
my
didn't
only
even plan for it, though, that's what really hurt.
I agree. My only point was, if you look at that kind of foundational game, right? That's always been in not just Halo, in many other games, you get your campaign, right? And then you get your multiplayer, which is played for years until you get the next campaign. But the promise was that it would continue. I realize
that's
what
my
you're saying.
point, is
So
that this
I
is
get
different than any other Halo game, because the game's called Halo Infinite. They planned on it to go, and the story is also predicated on the fact that it's sort of a beginning. right? Like the reason the campaign worked for me is because it kind of ends right at the beginning of the story, and then it sets up like this hopeful future of what the future of Halo is going to be, in the same way that Diablo 4's campaign kind of ends at the beginning of like this new era in Sanctuary. And one of those games seems to be doing a really good job at planning for that follow-up, and one of those games didn't even have a plan. And
the whole studio got wrecked.
that's how I think that's going to make or break live service games. And that's my point in all this. I'm not trying to drag Halo Infinite down. I love that game still, even with the fact that they didn't plan for it. But it is a great example, and one that I like to bring up, of it doesn't matter how good your game is. If you make a live service game and you do not plan or set yourself up for success, nothing else really matters, because you're going to get hit real hard.
Yeah, and I'll just say Diablo 4 again.
Diablo 4 is very good.
Although
it's a great game with a great live service model. It's the stars have finally aligned.
As much as Halo 2 is an all-time great, like all-time one of my favorite games of all time, Hogue, it is pretty funny to talk about that being the pinnacle of story when literally, quite literally.
No, I felt betrayed
for Halo,
Halo 2. I felt betrayed at the end of Halo 2, as well as at the end of Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver. Those are not good production pipelines. They don't lead to what they're supposed to.
Yeah, they literally cut a third of that game.
Halo 2's story, and I had no problem with the ending. I get that it was a cliffhanger, but I was sort of like, I don't know. I was a kid when that game came out, so maybe I was just used to, the guys hanging on the cliff at the end of the episode and it rolls credits. That's what it felt like to me. But I love Halo 2.
Like a G.I. Joe?
Halo 2 is exactly. Halo 2 is epic. By the way, I meant to shout out. We got into the Halo discussion. I meant to shout out. Destin swung by here, just to say hello to everyone and to let us know that he loves Forza. So I told him to have to get him added so that we can compete on time.
Has he still been playing Forza more than you?
Oh no, I was way ahead of him in terms of player level. I was. I don't know if I still am. I don't know.
Didn't you say during the review period that he had logged like more hours than anybody else or something like that early on?
No. I was ahead of Destin. No, I was talking about a friend of mine who's on the Forza test team. Like we're all like right now we're all in like 40s to 70s player level. My one buddy's 160 something. Like it's not even close.
Cool.
So,
Destin, if you ever want to come on the show, let me know, buddy. I got you.
Yeah, always an open invitation. Yeah. So, all right. I did not expect to end this week with a Halo Infinite discussion, but here we are.
Live service conversations, man. I'm always going to pick the fight. Let's do it.
So, by the way, of course, our Forza and Mirage. What, Travis? What's the game called?
Mirage.
Thank you. Reviews are up on Season Gaming. You can check those out. I am doing an article to just compare Gran Turismo 7 and Forza, not in a what's better, but more of just like, well, here's the features this game has. Here's the features this game has. Which one you may like. Yeah, I know. You try to keep it, but anyway, Kaskov's coming back this week, and then of course next week we'll be talking more on Diablo 4, the details of what was shared. We'll be talking about Lords of the Fallen. Very excited for that one. Travis will be able to talk about his review. We can talk about the SG review, and obviously anything that happens this week. I'll also be able to talk about Modern Warfare 3 at that point as well. Travis, what you got?
Yeah, Lords of the Fallen review will be live on the morning of October 12th. It's Thursday. Finished Thursday. Yeah, that review's finished. I just need to go through edits and get the video written and all that stuff. Yeah, it should be Thursday because I think it's one of those games with quote early access the next day. I think it comes out on the 13th officially. So could be wrong about that. I don't really look into how games are launched.
No, it launched on the 13th for everybody, I believe.
Okay. Friday. Wait, it's coming out on a Friday for everyone?
Okay. Unless I'm losing my mind. I'll check. Go ahead. Keep talking.
Well, I'm going to hit embargo, so that's good. And then my next review is unclear. It's either going to be a Sonic game or the Return to Moria, Lord of the Rings Minecraft game. I'm not sure. And then do I have any big reviews for the rest of the year? I think Lords of the Fallen is my last big review of 2023. I was hoping
you're going to review Avatar.
I don't think so. I would review it, but I don't think I'm on that one, and I'm definitely not on Alan Wake 2 because I think that game's already being played. But yeah, I will be playing Alan Wake 2. I wish I was reviewing it. My most anticipated game.
So
I looked at this.
Everybody should play Alan Wake 2. I'm not going to be. I can't play it that first weekend. I have a family engagement.
Nice. I am definitely going to be playing it that weekend.
Sounds
and
like
I'm
you
going to
need
be
to
sending
cancel
you
it.
spoilers for sure. Letting you know all the twists.
Unfollow
Um,
Travis. Got it.
It's gonna, but yeah, I
Give
did
me
look in the.
DMs.
I looked in the Excel spreadsheet for reviews for the site, and there were like 6 names on that one. So I think it's a little too competitive for old Travis to get a shot at it.
Pick up Frontiers of Pandora. You can compare the Avatar: The Last Airbender game to Frontiers of
True.
Pandora. What a
That'd be
review!
great. Yeah, which Avatar is best? Once and for all, definitive.
I reviewed Far Cry 6. I feel like I should review Avatar, considering
Yeah.
it's Far Cry Avatar. All right, Travis, thank you. Oh, what you got, man?
Yeah, well, I'm back in town. I was away for a week, so we'll be doing Hangouts and Headlines again over at the YouTube channel. And we might do some virtual legality. It looks like the Microsoft deal might well close this week.
Yeah, I think it will.
So Activision Blizzard King, by the time we talk again next, might be a Microsoft company. So that would be a big deal for a lot of people I know. And I think that that's reasonably likely to happen now because they still have that contract date of the 18th. So this is the week that you'd ordinarily organize it for if you were setting up a closing. Generally speaking, the lawyers would say, all right, end of day Friday. Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
So on the 13th, right as Lords of the Fallen comes out.
Well, I think traditionally businesses would probably avoid closing their mega deal on Friday the 13th, but you don't know.
That would be the spookiest thing to do. It is October, Hogue. I know how you love spooky stuff.
I do love spooky stuff.
Yeah.
Good man. Best month of the year. All right, Dan. Bears. Are they winning? They're going to win.
They won their game Thursday. They played already.
That's right.
Unfortunately,
they won an NFL football game.
Listen, here's the thing. I was very conflicted. We lost the great Dick Butkus this week. Number 51, middle linebacker. The prototype is what I call him.
That's what my old soccer coach used to call me because I was very physical on the defense.
The prototype?
No.
Dick Butkus.
Butkus. Yeah.
Butkus? Yes. So I was cheering. I was like, gosh, I really want them to lose every single game to potentially get a decent draft pick. But I couldn't argue.
Dan, I'm not gonna lie, I thought the Bears would lose every game.
I really did too.
And you go 1-15, you still get a good draft pick.
Yeah.
You'll be all right.
I'm Carolina and Chicago just go down the tank because Bears had both of those first round picks. 1 and 2 would be really nice with Caleb Williams and what's his face from Ohio State, Marvin Harrison.
I'm with you, Travis. I have no idea who he's talking about.
He wants the quarterback from USC and the wide receiver from Ohio State.
Yes, I do. Okay. Ideally, yeah, that's what I would like. But yeah,
I'll be honest. I'm just staring into the abyss right now.
That's what I've done for the last 45 minutes. I have no idea what you're talking about.
I'm floating in a crystal above the abyss right now. That's what I'm doing while you guys talk about sports.
No, Silent Hope has one of my favorite prompts because when you jump into the hole, the prompt is gaze into the abyss. It's like, yep, cool.
But yeah, football the rest of the day should be fun.
Been there. Which of us hasn't?
All right, boys. Chat, you've been great today, as always. Thank you. Thank you to anyone checking us out. The engagement continues to be really high, so thank you for that. Other than that, we will see you next Sunday. Obviously, a lot to talk about next week. Should be a good one. We will see you then. Have a good week. Enjoy your sports balls. Enjoy your games. Talk to you then. Peace.